This page is the front cover of the inaugural issue of the 64Dream magazine, focused on the Nintendo 64. The cover highlights a special feature called N64 Hardware Super Introduction and mentions the arrival of the Nintendo 64. Featured games include Super Mario 64, Pilotwings 64, and Saikyo Habu Shogi, which is likely a shogi, Japanese chess, game featuring Habu. There's also a dream interview with Matsumoto Leiji, a manga artist. Additional topics teased are questions to Nintendo, internet game surfing, and N64 summer vacation plans. Finally, the cover notes a special sticker is included as an appendix to commemorate the launch issue. This page is an advertisement for the Nintendo 64 game, Shichi Kano no Saikyo Shogi, which translates to Seven Crown Kings Strongest Shogi, also known as Saikyo Habu Shogi, or Strongest Habu Shogi, endorsed by Yoshiharu Habu, a famous shogi player. The game boasts features like computer shogi championships, with 4 consecutive wins, programmed by Shinichiro Kanazawa, ensuring a challenging experience even for ranked players. Players can customize game settings, including time limits and board positions. The software includes 612 shogi game records and 315 tsume shogi, checkmate, problems. It offers various game modes, such as reversal shogi, games featuring ranging rook and static rook strategies, 10-second shogi, and single-sided play against the computer. The advertisement emphasizes testing the player's shogi skill, with a test mode to evaluate the player's rank. An example result shows a 6Q rank assessment. The retail price for the game is 9,800 yen, excluding tax, and it is published by Seta Company, Limited, with development cooperation from the Japan Shogi Association. The game is exclusively for the Nintendo 64 console and not compatible with other systems. This page is the cover of the 64Dream magazine, issue number 1, dated July 1996. The main headline announces, Nintendo 64 has arrived, and it's a super introduction to N64 hardware. The contents listed include sections on the real-size diagram of the console and its components, the controller, and cartridges. There are also sections about connectivity, understanding the specifications, and 7 keywords to understand Nintendo 64 development. An interview with N64 developer Hiru Takeda, who is the head of Nintendo's Development Department 3, is highlighted, alongside a forecast for the N64's near future and a genealogy of Nintendo game machines. The cover also promotes a thorough introduction to 3 major software, totaling 40 pages, and lists the games Super Mario 64, Pilotwings 64, and Saikyo Habu Shogi, which translates to Strongest Habu Shogi, and is a shogi or Japanese chess game featuring professional player Yoshiharu Habu and was only released in Japan. The page features imagery including globes with game artwork and a photo of a woman holding a Nintendo 64 controller. This page is the contents page for the July 1996 issue of 64Dream magazine. It highlights the upcoming Nintendo 64 game releases in a feature called Game Parade. The contents page lists a wide variety of games including Super Mario Kart R, Star Fox 64, Wave Race 64, Hyperdimensional Niter Pro Baseball King, Mission Impossible, GoldenEye 007, Star Wars, Shadows of the Empire, Blade and Barrel, Quanpa, Kirby's Air Ride, Blast Corps, Robotech, Crystal Dreams, Doom 64, Turok, Dinosaur Hunter, Wayne Gretzky's Hockey, Cruisin' USA, Killer Instinct 64, and Body Harvest. The page also mentions special articles such as Teach Me, Hongo-san, Questionnaire to Nintendo, and Hirabayashi Hisakazu's Super Mario Theory. Super Mario. All legends started from the first 3 screens. Additionally, it promotes a special sticker and a new software release schedule. On page 100, the image features a young woman holding a Nintendo 64 controller and a ball with game artwork, and the title, Crystal Dreams. The page also includes a profile section for Nakamura Yuka. This page is the contents page for the July 1996 issue of 64Dream magazine, which is identified as the inaugural issue preparation number. The main theme is N64 Summer Vacation, highlighting the upcoming Nintendo 64 console. The page lists various articles under sections such as Special Project, Series, Dream Interview, Catalog, News, Manga, and Reader's Page. The Special Projects section includes articles on family games, friends games, single-player games, and Nurse Yu's Game Life Complete Check. The Series section features GameJobs 1 Game Designer, an interview with Endo Masanobu, and Internet Game Surfing, Less Than Part 1, Nintendo Edition Greater Than. There's also a column titled Doridori Investigation Team Goes the Day, the 23rd of June, 1996. A Dream interview is listed with Matsumoto Leiji, a famous manga artist. The catalog section will cover Super Mario Collection, known internationally as Super Mario All-Stars. News will feature the Game Boy Pocket appearance. The manga section includes titles Furuhata Ninzaburo Shiro and Go Forth, Nittentown 64th Address. Reader's page contains Dorage Paradise and information on reader's presence. The page also advertises a lectures course section called Damn Sensei's SFC Happy Doubling Strategy, focusing on Super Famicom, Super Nintendo topics, with parts on Satellaview and X-band communication. The page includes an image of the Nintendo 64 console and controller, and on the top right, an image with Mario and Bowser, representative of Nintendo games. A staff list and copyright information are also present on the right side of the page. This page announces the arrival of the Nintendo 64 console. The text expresses excitement about the console's release, stating that the day has finally come for the ultimate home 64-bit game machine. It mentions that the development was announced roughly 3 years prior and expresses the anticipation and eagerness to play this dream game machine. The release date is stated as June 23, 1996, and the tagline, "Games will change, 64 will change," is highlighted. The text discusses the unknown true potential of this new 64-bit game machine, the futuristic controller design, and the impressive hardware specifications. It concludes by stating, "Nintendo 64 has arrived," and expresses heartfelt congratulations on the birth of this dream game machine. Below the main text, there are credits listing staff involved in the page's creation, such as text, model, photo, stylist, makeup and hair, and CG production and direction. It also mentions clothing cooperation and phone numbers for Series and Shoes Pot. At the very bottom it states, 6th The 64Dream, July 1996. This page is an image from the Japanese magazine 64Dream, dated July 1996. It features a young woman smiling and holding a Nintendo 64 console and controller. The image is likely an introductory page or advertisement for the magazine itself. This magazine page celebrates the Nintendo 64's launch. The article highlights the console's stylish black design and aims to sell 5 million units by the following March, with 3.6 million in Japan, and ponders whether it can surpass the sales of the Famicom and Super Famicom. The page details the console's features, noting it's lighter than the Super Famicom and designed horizontally with 4 controller ports. The power switch is emphasized, with a warning to keep the 3D stick neutral during startup to avoid game issues. The memory expansion terminal, sealed with a "Do Not Remove" notice, is described as crucial for processing power, with the N64 boasting the largest internal memory at the time, 36 megabits. Finally, the page praises the N64 logo, emphasizing its aesthetic appeal. The Nintendo 64 features several design innovations. The cartridge inlet has a double cover for easier cartridge insertion and removal. Video cable compatibility with Super Famicom cables is noted. A front-mounted power lamp improves visibility. The reset button allows quick game restarts. Controller terminals are round and dot-numbered for easy identification. The AC adapter is streamlined, with the transformer built-in. Finally, a 50-pin expansion connector on the bottom anticipates future peripherals, possibly including a disk drive for expanded game storage, and even modem functionality, suggesting potential for online capabilities. The console also features a slightly raised front. This page focuses on the revolutionary design of the Nintendo 64 controller, heralding it as a controller revolution. The 3D stick is highlighted as a core innovation, enabling intuitive analog control and significantly impacting the gaming experience. The controller's protrusions are mentioned, facilitating game control, along with the controller pack and Z triggers. While acknowledging the D-pad's importance in 2D gaming, the page suggests its significance may diminish with the rise of 3D stick-focused games. Controller Bros celebrates the N64 controller's color variations: red, blue, yellow, green, black, and gray, priced at 2,500 yen, encouraging players to express themselves through their color choice. The start button is also mentioned as a key feature, centrally located and inviting players to begin their gaming experience. This page explores the Nintendo 64 controller, emphasizing its innovative design. Key features include the L and R triggers, building upon the Super Famicom's design, and the revolutionary Z trigger, ideal for shooting games. The C button unit is highlighted for camera control, particularly in Super Mario 64. The A button takes prominence over the B button compared to the Super Famicom. The controller's ergonomic shape, described as comfortable for extended use, along with the controller pack slot for saving game data and customization, are also noted. A comparison table details the differences between the N64 and Super Famicom controllers. The page also features humorous descriptions of the controller's appearance from various angles, including a monster's face, back, a UFO front, and a high heel side. The controller pack slot's visibility on the back is specifically mentioned. This page reviews the Nintendo 64 console, focusing on its design and accessories. The N64 features a flat, sleek cartridge design compared to older consoles like the Super Famicom, requiring care when swapping games. Video cables are sold separately and are crucial for gameplay. While compatible with SFC, RGB cables are not usable. 3 AV cable options are available: Stereo AV, 1,500 yen, Mono AV, 1,200 yen, and S-Video, 2,500 yen, with S-Video offering the best picture quality. Sound is also emphasized, promoting 3D audio capabilities with active speaker systems and 3D sound processors. A speaker set is priced at 3,800 yen. The page includes a screenshot of Super Mario 64. This guide, Let's Connect, outlines how to set up a Nintendo 64 console. The process involves 7 steps. First, unpack the console. Next, attach the AC adapter to the back until it clicks. Then, plug the controllers into the front. Fourth, connect the console to your TV using the appropriate cable. RF switch for older TVs. Fifth, plug the AC adapter into a wall outlet. Sixth, insert the game cartridge, ensuring the console is off. Finally, power on the console using the slide switch. Enjoy the nostalgic experience and enter the 64Dream world. This article details the Nintendo 64's hardware, emphasizing its importance for understanding the console's capabilities. The N64 features a 64-bit CPU co-developed with SGI, enabling sophisticated processing, and a fast 93.75 MHz clock speed, exceeding competitors. Its 36 megabytes of memory, expandable for future titles, and 500 megabytes per second data transfer rate via Rambus DRAM are key to efficient performance. The RCP, Reality Coprocessor, is crucial, comprising an SP, Signal Processor, for polygon calculations and sound, and a DP, Display Processor, for texture mapping and graphics display. Key specifications include the 64-bit RISC CPU, a 62.5 MHz RCP frequency, and 36 megabits Rambus DRAM, with a 4,500 megabits per second transfer rate. Quote, the Nintendo 64 boasted advanced graphics capabilities, supporting resolutions from 256 by 224 to 640 by 480, with flicker-free and interlaced modes. Its 21-bit color system displayed 210,000 colors, and supported RGBA with an alpha channel for transparency. Key features included edge anti-aliasing for smoother visuals and Z buffering for depth management in 3D scenes. The real-time media coprocessor, RCP, handled graphics and sound, freeing the main CPU environment mapping, exemplified by Metal Mario, allowed for realistic reflections. Finally, MIP mapping ensured texture quality across varying distances, preventing pixelation. The next page is from 64Dream magazine, July 1996, and it features an interview with Takeda Gentyu, who is in charge of the 3rd development department of the manufacturing division at Nintendo. The main title is Nintendo 64 Development, 7 Keywords. The interview discusses the development of the Nintendo 64. Takeda Gentyu's profile indicates, born March 7, 1949. Graduated from the Department of Electrical Engineering, Faculty of Engineering, Shizuoka University in March 1971. Joined Nintendo in July 1972. became manager of the 3rd Department of the Manufacturing Division in December 1982. The interview excerpt begins by mentioning the release of the Nintendo 64 on June 23, highlighting its 64-bit CPU and superior performance compared to other game machines. It mentions that the development of the Nintendo 64 started from the question of, what is the next entertainment after Super Famicom? Takeda discusses how Silicon Graphics computers, specifically the Onyx workstation used for digital special effects in Hollywood movies like Terminator 2, Jurassic Park, and Apollo 13, inspired them. He mentions that these high-end Silicon Graphics computers were very expensive, costing over 100 million yen. And even cheaper reality engine computers were still tens of millions of yen. The goal was to bring that level of graphics to a toy game machine, which seemed impossible but became the driving force for the Nintendo 64 development. Starting from that yearning, eventually Nintendo partnered with Silicon Graphics to co-develop the Nintendo 64. This page discusses the encounter and partnership between Nintendo and Silicon Graphics, SGI. The article delves into the initial stages of their collaboration, focusing on the development of the Nintendo 64. It mentions that at the time, there was a boom in multimedia, often associated with CD-ROMs, but the interviewees felt that interactive multimedia, and especially real-time interactivity, were not fully understood by many. The conversation highlights the project's beginnings and the team formation. Initially, they were tasked with creating a game demo using SGI's technology. The team started by discussing with members about the target price point, around $250, and the required specifications. When they asked SGI if there were any existing games to demonstrate, they were told no. So they decided to create a Mario-style game as a demo. The article also touches upon the team-building process, mentioning that they were interviewing around 100 people to hire one. It was a project that attracted many people wanting to participate, resulting in a large team and various experiences. The Nintendo 64 controller's design prioritized a smooth, intuitive feel and versatility, despite hardware limitations. Developers focused on continuous quantities and experimented with various sizes and button configurations, ultimately seeking a form factor suitable for diverse game genres. They aimed to simplify the design and reduce the number of buttons while observing players to ensure an intuitive experience. The Super Famicom controller designer contributed to this iterative process, utilizing clay modeling and computer graphics. While cost was a consideration, the priority was a high-quality product aligned with the Super Famicom's focus on cost-effective production and efficient specifications. The development team faced challenges, but maintained the core philosophy of creating an accessible and well-made controller. This page features two main articles concerning Nintendo 64. The first article, titled Nintendo and Company, appears to be an interview section where the interviewee, possibly Mr. Takeda, shares his thoughts on Nintendo as a company. He uses the term grassroots and amateurism to describe Nintendo's approach, reflecting on their past achievements like the Famicom and Game Boy. He seems to highlight a unique and appealing aspect of Nintendo's company culture. The second article, titled Original Standards Under Development, discusses the Nintendo 64's 64DD disk drive. It mentions that Nintendo is developing original standards for this magnetic media format. The article raises the question of what kind of software and games will be unique to the 64DD, suggesting that the full potential of the system is still unseen. Finally, there's a section about Nintendo 64's rivals, touching upon the hardware landscape. It's mentioned that Nintendo is proceeding at its own pace with hardware development. The text also implies discussions about other game machines, including Sony and Sega, as potential competitors in the market. This article examines the future of console gaming post-Nintendo 64, emphasizing the importance of network capabilities and faster modems for online play. It discusses the potential of 28.8 kilobits per second and 14.4 kilobits per second modems versus CD-ROM speeds, highlighting concerns around internet compatibility and potential user fees, especially for children. Nintendo's philosophy is to prioritize quality over quick profits, suggesting a cautious but promising entry into the network gaming market with an exceptional product. The article also reflects on the Super Famicom's 2D-centric history, contrasting its limitations with the advanced 3D capabilities and significant performance leaps, potentially 30x faster CPU speeds, expected in future hardware. The goal is to create unique gaming experiences unattainable on older systems. The article, featuring a prominent Mario image, reinforces Nintendo's central role in this evolution. This page features an article titled Adventure, focusing on the Nintendo 64. The article discusses the concept of adventure in the context of the new console, highlighting Nintendo's philosophy of creating fun and interesting experiences rather than just chasing the latest technology or getting caught up in the next-generation game machine war. The article mentions an interview with a person named Takeda-san, who talks about Nintendo's approach to game development. He emphasizes that Nintendo is a tool maker, focused on creating enjoyable video games. He mentions that while currently video games are the most interesting form of entertainment, they are not limited to just that, and may explore other forms in the future. He also refers to the Virtual Boy as a challenging experience that taught them valuable lessons. The article also touches upon the market perception at the time, where Nintendo was seen as a top maker with confidence, yet perhaps their approach was more about their own pace rather than direct competition. It suggests that this unique, my-pace approach is what led to the creation of the Nintendo 64. At the bottom, there is a section titled Nintendo 64. A word to those who bought it. This section seems to be a message to Nintendo 64 owners, where it's mentioned that the hardware's capabilities are significant. They encourage developers to utilize the power of the Nintendo 64's CPU to create compelling games. The Nintendo 64 is presented as a groundbreaking console poised to revolutionize gaming. Much like the advent of early TV games, its potential for limitless gaming possibilities, including online multiplayer with games like Mario Kart R, is emphasized, envisioning global competition. The upcoming 64DD add-on promises further innovation. The article highlights the N64's analog stick as a standard, spurring new gameplay experiences. A brief history of Nintendo consoles is included, focusing on the success of Game & Watch, 12.87 million sold, the Family Computer, Famicom, 18.95 million sold, and the Disk System, 3.45 million sold, showcasing the evolution of Nintendo's hardware through images of each console. The article previews the Nintendo 64 and its potential impact on gaming. The 64DD add-on promises evolving games, potentially allowing program rewriting and dynamic gameplay like the Furai no Shiren series. 4-player simultaneous play will become standard. Hudson's Takahashi Meijin will make a comeback thanks to the analog stick, and 64 game titles will likely adopt the 64 suffix. The article also reviews past Nintendo milestones. In 1990, the Super Famicom launched with 16.25 million sales, and in 1991, the Game Boy achieved 12.16 million units sold. The Virtual Boy in 1995 was unsuccessful, with only 140,000 units sold. And finally, the Nintendo 64 launched in 1996, selling 500,000 units by June, marking the beginning of 64-bit gaming. This page is an advertisement for the PlayStation game Kyokugen Taidugi Daidugi, which translates to Ultimate Taidugi Daidugi. It's described as a battle board game culture, where players pit their wits against people on the street in shogi-like puzzles to earn money. The page highlights 3 game modes. Practice mode. This mode features 100 shogi puzzles with 3 to 5 moves, designed for training and improving skills. Dojo mode. This mode includes 100 puzzles focused on endgame scenarios, allowing players to practice checkmate and learn endgame techniques. Daidugi mode. This mode pits players against 11 types of shogi masters, featuring 110 puzzles. It emphasizes realistic shogi battles with various tactical situations, including difficult and tricky scenarios. The advertisement emphasizes the game as a full-scale, beautiful and powerful orthodox shogi software, boasting beautiful graphics and background music. It mentions features such as Oxford Shogi Society-style problem settings, adjustable AI strength in 12 levels, support for 9 road and 13 road boards, 7 types of BGM, 6 types of boards and 9 types of backgrounds, saving and resuming game functionality, and freedom to set up board positions. The text promotes it as a deep and enjoyable shogi game for both beginners and experienced players, offering a wide range of difficulty and features. It mentions that the game is currently on sale at a price of 5,800 yen, excluding tax, for the PlayStation. The bottom right corner has the publisher information for MYCOM, Mainichi Communications. This page is an introduction to 3 major software titles for the Nintendo 64, namely Super Mario 64, Pilotwings 64, and Strongest Habu Shogi. The page promotes these as highly anticipated games and mentions beloved characters like Mario, Bowser, and Peach. It also highlights the participation of Grandmaster Habu in the shogi game. The descriptive text suggests diverse gameplay experiences across different settings, including the sky, underwater, haunted houses, and even a shogi board, promising an extensive adventure. This feature is stated to be a comprehensive 40-page spread within the magazine. This page is an advertisement for Super Mario 64, Nintendo's flagship title for the Nintendo 64 console. The page announces the game's arrival as a highly anticipated release that will captivate players worldwide, just like previous Mario games. It emphasizes the leap to 3D graphics using polygons, creating a truly immersive experience where Mario feels like he's jumping out of the screen. The game is set in Peach's castle, which acts as a hub world. Players can enter courses, previously known as worlds in older Mario games, by jumping into giant paintings within the castle. The screenshots showcase the castle's interior and vibrant 3D levels. The advertisement also mentions the Japanese release date of June 23rd and the price of 9,800 yen, published by Nintendo. This page is focused on Super Mario 64, detailing how to understand the game screen and highlighting the expressiveness of the new 3D Mario. The article section, Master How to Read the Screen, explains the HUD elements, such as the player lives indicated by Mario's face, the power meter showing Mario's health, and the coin counter. It also mentions the camera distance and the ability to switch viewpoints between Mario and Lakitu. The section 64 Mario is so detailed emphasizes the refined expressions and actions of Mario, noting that even small movements and mistakes result in exaggerated reactions. It mentions seeing the Lakitu camera in places one wouldn't expect, adding to the fun. The section, Let's Try Various Things, encourages players to experiment, asking questions like, what kind of giant monster is this? And how do you defeat it? This section seems to be prompting players to explore the game's mechanics. Finally, the column, Mario with Abundant Expressiveness, notes that Mario's words are in English, and that he uses phrases like, here we go, and Mamma Mia. It highlights the detailed expressions and actions of Mario, like his hair, mustache, and diverse actions, making his performance enjoyable. The page is essentially an introduction to the player interface and charm of Super Mario 64. This page is an introduction to controlling Mario in his new 3D adventure. It details the basic controls for the game, starting with the 3D stick used for movement. The 3D stick allows Mario to walk or dash depending on how far you tilt it. Next, the A button is for jumping, essential for defeating enemies and reaching higher platforms. The B button is the attack button, allowing Mario to perform punches and kicks and combinations of attacks. The Z trigger button is for crouching, which can lead to various actions when combined with buttons and stick movements. The start button is for pausing and resuming the game. The R trigger button is for switching between two special camera modes, Jugemu and Mario 2. Finally, the C button unit is used to change the camera position to different directions. The page uses screenshots from the game to demonstrate these controls in action, showing Mario walking, running, jumping, punching, and crouching. The title of the section at the top of the page is, First, Let's Move Mario. The game featured on the page is Super Mario 64. This 64Dream magazine page provides a guide to advanced actions in Super Mario 64, expanding beyond basic movement. It details techniques like the crab walk for navigating tight spaces, crouching slide for quick direction changes, and crawling for unstable terrain. Swimming techniques include breaststroke for speed and flutter kick for consistent movement. Mario can also hang from ledges, climb walls, and hang on wire mesh, trees, and poles. Furthermore, the page explains how to perform a handstand at the top of trees or poles to perform a long jump. Each move is illustrated with screenshots and control instructions, offering players tips on using these abilities strategically within the game. This guide details 6 advanced jump techniques in a game, likely Super Mario 64. The continuous jump involves double tapping the A button for increased height, with a third jump yielding significant elevation. The 3-stage jump extends this with a 3-press sequence, A plus A plus A. The wall kick uses wall contact, pressing A upon impact for a rebound jump. The side somersault plus A is an evasive side flip. The running long jump, Z plus A, covers long distances with a crouch jump, while the back somersault, Z plus A, is a stylish backflip from a crouch. Screenshots and detailed instructions are provided, highlighting the importance of practice and precise timing. This web page details various attack techniques in a Mario game on the N64, accompanied by screenshots. The guide covers several moves: the running B body attack and the running Z plus B sliding attack. Mid-air, pressing Z initiates a hip drop, useful for breaking blocks and braking. Players can also pick up objects or enemies by pressing B, then throw them by pressing B again. A special technique, effective against Bowser, involves holding his tail, hold B, and spinning him with the circle pad, followed by a B press to throw him. News tag. The site aims to educate players on diverse attack strategies to enhance gameplay. This page is about hat power-ups in Super Mario 64. It explains how to get power-ups by changing Mario's hat. The page highlights two key aspects: materializing transparent blocks and obtaining the wing cap from red blocks. To get the hats, you first need to make the transparent blocks solid. The article instructs players to find and hit a green switch located somewhere in the level to make the transparent blocks turn solid. Once solid, hitting these blocks from below will reveal hats. The page then focuses on the red blocks, which contain the wing cap. Wearing the wing cap and performing a triple jump allows Mario to fly freely in the sky. The article emphasizes the exhilarating feeling of flying around. Finally, the page describes the controls for Wing Mario. Tilting the 3D stick left or right makes Mario rotate. Tilting the 3D stick up makes Mario descend, and tilting it down makes him ascend. Pressing the Z trigger makes Mario land on the ground. And text points out that the wing sprouting from the side of the hat is the charming point of the wing cap. This page showcases features for the game Super Mario 64. The top section is titled Silver Shining Metal Mario. It explains that hitting a green block will reveal a silver shining hat, which turns Mario into Metal Mario. As Metal Mario, he can repel monsters by simply touching them, walk unharmed through water and lava, and traverse the seabed. But conversely, he cannot swim. The text encourages the player to find and use this power-up. The bottom section is titled Slippery Skew Skew Mario, which refers to Vanish Mario. It explains that hitting a blue block will produce a blurred hat. Collecting this hat makes Mario blurry or transparent. While in this state, Mario is unaffected by enemy or fire traps and can pass through special walls and fences. The text suggests using this power-up when stuck. Screenshots show Mario in gameplay using both the Metal Mario and Vanish Mario power-ups. Peach invites Mario to her castle for cake, but upon arrival he finds it deserted. A mysterious voice booms, and Mario finds a hidden painting. Drawn in by a strange call, Mario jumps into the painting, entering a new world. Bowser, the villain, has kidnapped Princess Peach and stolen the Power Stars, the source of the castle's power. Bowser plans to use the stars to transform the painting world's inhabitants into monsters and invade the Mushroom Kingdom. The player, as Mario, must retrieve the Power Stars hidden within the painting worlds, rescue Peach, and restore peace to the kingdom. Before Bowser's plans succeed, Peach is waiting to be rescued. This page is a course strategy guide for Super Mario 64, focusing on Course 1, the Bow-Bomb Battlefield. It describes the game's opening, where Mario, invited by Princess Peach, arrives at Peach's castle only to find she has been kidnapped by Bowser. The guide advises talking to a nearby Toad in the castle to understand the situation. It then directs the player to a painting of bow-bombs, which is the entrance to the first course. The guide explains that in the painting, pink and black bow-bombs are at war, and the black bow-bombs, controlled by Bowser, are dropping water bombs from the mountain. Players are warned to be careful of the circular shadows, indicating where water bombs will fall. The goal of this course is to reach the mountain peak and defeat the boss, King Bow-Bomb, the parent of the black bow-bombs. The page also introduces common enemies like Goombas, which can be defeated by punching or jumping on them. It mentions that there are signboards throughout the levels, explaining special moves and controls, encouraging players to read them. Basic actions like jumping with the A button, and punching with the B button, and kicking with A and B buttons together are explained. It also shows screenshots of Mario interacting with Goombas and using a cannon. The guide advises players to get used to the 3D stick and special actions by running around. This guide provides gameplay tips for Super Mario 64. It begins with basic navigation using signposts and introduces the Chain Chomps, an enemy that can only be bypassed by using bow-bombs. Bow-bombs themselves are explained as enemies that can be picked up and thrown, both to defeat other enemies and to safely navigate past Chain Chomps. Camera controls using C buttons and the R trigger, are also detailed for better visibility. Finally, the guide covers climbing a mountain, advising players to hug the walls to avoid rolling boulders and hinting at rewards at the summit. The concluding section addresses the final slope and stresses continued caution against falling boulders. Throw Bomb King is a strategy guide for defeating the Bomb King boss. The battle takes place on a mountaintop. Players must circle behind Bomb King, like with Bomb King, and throw him 3 times to win. Throwing him off the mountain results in a foul, speeding up Bomb King. A recommended technique involves crouching, then backflipping to get behind him. The guide describes Bomb King's appearance, kingly beard and crown, and highlights the reward, a power star. Players are warned against being lifted and thrown off the mountain. Successfully circling and lifting Bomb King allows for throwing. Defeating Bomb King results in his explosion, revealing the power star, and confirming victory. Quote, "This page from 64Dream magazine introduces Course 2, Butthurt King's Territory from Super Mario 64, titled, Overcome the Walls." The course is described as challenging, with moving platforms, falling rocks, and precarious terrain. Players are warned about piranha plants that will attack if approached carelessly, advising a cautious approach. The page highlights a section called Climb and Climb, showing areas where players need to ascend. It reiterates the advice to avoid waking up the piranha plants in these climbing sections. A new enemy called Batan is introduced, described as a wall monster. When Mario stands in front of Batan, it will fall. The advice is to quickly dodge when Batan falls, and then use a hip drop to defeat it. Finally, the page reveals the boss of this course is Angry Batan King. To defeat Batan King, players must use hip drops 3 times while it is fallen over. Defeating Batan King will reward the player with a power star. A speech bubble with text says, "Damn it! With a hip drop I'll stomp on this Batan King." The next page is a course guide for Course 3 of Super Mario 64, called Pirate's Lagoon. The guide focuses on the underwater sleeping shipwreck section of the level. It explains that this course is mainly underwater, emphasizing the importance of swimming techniques. The course promises mysterious adventures with pirate treasures and giant urchins. It warns that Mario's breath meter depletes underwater, leading to a miss if it runs out, but can be replenished by surfacing or collecting coins. The page highlights several points. Swimming techniques. It suggests practicing swimming techniques and refers to a sign by the sea, which provides swimming tips. Diving and giant urchin appearance. It features screenshots of Mario diving and encountering a giant urchin enemy. Shipwreck secrets. It discusses the shipwreck and reveals that there are large urchins lurking within. Power star. It details a puzzle inside the shipwreck involving 4 treasure chests. Opening them in the wrong order causes damage. Opening all in the correct sequence makes the shipwreck float and reveals a power star. This 64Dream magazine page details Cold Mountain, a Super Mario 64 course. It outlines 2 primary methods for obtaining power stars. The first involves a fast-paced slider found inside a mountain hut, rewarding players who navigate it successfully. The second, for those who struggle with the slider, features a penguin-themed challenge. Players must find and return a lost baby penguin to its parent, located near the hut. Picking up the baby penguin requires approaching from behind and pressing B. Returning the child to its parent, a heartwarming scene, earns a power star. This page from 64Dream magazine in July 1996 is about Teresa's Horror House, which is Course 5 in Super Mario 64, known internationally as Big Boo's Haunt. The page is titled Course 5, Teresa's Horror House, and it guides players on how to find the entrance to this course. It explains that after collecting some stars, Burios will appear in the courtyard. One specific Burio in the courtyard holds the entrance to the horror house. The page details how to navigate the horror house level, mentioning that the player needs to defeat the boss Boo to clear the stage. It also warns players to avoid the furniture in the house as they are haunted and can attack. The article describes how to defeat the Burios, explaining that when Mario faces them, they become transparent and cannot be damaged. The strategy is to sneak behind them and punch them when they are not looking. The page shows screenshots from Super Mario 64 illustrating these points, including Mario encountering Boos in the courtyard and inside the house, and fighting the Big Boo boss. This guide focuses on obtaining power stars in Super Mario 64. Power stars are plentiful, with at least 6 in the first course and 15 across Peach's Castle. Hidden extra courses, like Peach's Hidden Slide, also offer stars. The slide course is accessed by entering a specific stained glass window in the castle after acquiring a power star. Revisiting cleared courses can unlock new events and power stars. For instance, Course 1, Bob Ohm Battlefield, changes after defeating King Bob Ohm, making new areas accessible. The guide also includes a quote from Hongo Yoshiaki, emphasizing the game's freedom and replayability. He highlights that experienced players can collect all 120 stars in around 30 hours, but encourages players to enjoy the experience and set their own goals beyond simply completing the game. Super Mario 64 tip pages offer advice for players. Number 3. Using techniques focuses on mastering advanced moves like the triple jump and wall kick, crucial for later levels, especially Course 4. The page highlights areas in Course 4 that require these techniques to collect power stars, with an example of using a wall kick to access a star. Number 4. Try collecting red coins. Details how collecting all 8 red coins in a course summons a power star. It explains that red coins are often hidden, requiring players to change their viewpoint to find them. Collecting the star is a 2-step process, making it challenging. Missing the star after collecting the coins requires players to find them all again. This page is dedicated to the game Super Mario 64, titled Confrontation! Great Demon King Bowser. It highlights the need to use power stars to open a door, explaining that a large star drawn on the door indicates that power stars are required to open it. Specifically, it notes that 8 power stars are needed to proceed. The article then mentions that beyond this door lies Bowser's Maze, a difficult area filled with traps and attractions created by Bowser. The text warns that Bowser's Maze is full of surprises, like shooting flames and moving floors, and emphasizes the need to master the course through repeated attempts to reach Bowser. Screenshots show Mario navigating a Bowser-themed stage with lava and platforms, and text describes approaching Peach's painting, which then transforms into Bowser. The article concludes by emphasizing the challenging nature of Bowser's Maze. This page announces Bowser's finally here, and is a feature on the Bowser boss battle in Super Mario 64. It details the confrontation with the King Koopa, and explains he uses diverse attacks, including causing earthquakes and breathing fire. The page notes that bombs are placed in the battle arena, and the key to victory is hitting Bowser with these bombs. The strategy is described as grabbing Bowser by the tail, spinning him around, and then throwing him into a bomb. The text with the screenshots describes Bowser's entrance scene and dialogue, which is described as very macho and childish. Bowser's attack using fire, which lingers on the screen, warning players to be careful not to touch it. Quote, the description of grabbing Bowser by the tail and throwing him, the successful hit of Bowser with a bomb, causing him to recoil. After defeating Bowser, a key appears, bringing players one step closer to rescuing Princess Peach and leading to a new adventure. Pilot Wings 64 for the Nintendo 64 is a flight simulation game, representing a significant advancement over the Super Famicom (SFC) version released 6 years prior. The game features 36 stages and 3 aircraft: the gyrocopter, hang glider, and rocket belt. Players earn bronze, silver, and gold badges across 4 classes by completing tasks and achieving specific scores. The game offers expansive environments across 4 island areas. The original SFC Pilot Wings was a technology demo showcasing the system's capabilities while being a fun and innovative game. The N64 version has differences, such as the absence of a light plane and the presence of stricter instructors. Gameplay involves scoring based on various factors, such as balloon scores, time, and landing accuracy. The game was released on June 23rd at a price of 9,800 yen, excluding tax, and published by Nintendo. This 64Dream article from July 1996 highlights the exceptional controls in Pilot Wings 64. The game boasts outstanding operability, making the controls feel natural even for beginners. The article details the Nintendo 64 controller's functions, including the Z trigger for brakes and missiles, the 3D stick for directional control, and the A and B buttons for thrust. The C buttons are used for camera control and the map. The article features screenshots of the hang glider, rocket belt, and gyrocopter, discussing their unique control styles. The article also mentions the game's user-friendly design, hint system, and the importance of the in-game instruments. The controls are designed to be intuitive and easy to learn and use, with advanced techniques being a key part of the game. Holiday Island in Pilot Wings 64 is a family-friendly location with castles, amusement parks, and an underground waterway with reversed day and night. Beginner pilots can enjoy the Hang Glider 1 Albatross Nest task, navigating rings and landing smoothly. Speed should be under 50 km per hour during landing, using the flare and releasing the A button upon touchdown. The game features 6 pilots, categorized by their suitability for different aircraft. Lark and Kiwi, light hang glider pilots, offer quick control responses. Goose and Ibis are standard, while Hawk and Footer are heavier, resulting in slower responses. Lark is a small, agile, and well-behaved boy with perfect pitch. Pilot Wing 64 features rocket belt, gyrocopter, and Birdman modes. Rocket belt involves hitting balloons and landing accurately, emphasizing neutral stick control initially, overhead camera views for landing, and careful descent. The gyrocopter, with easier controls, tasks players with flying through rings, advising against excessive speed, and recommending radar/map use. Landing involves speed reduction and careful runway approach. While missiles exist, they're not recommended. Birdman mode, a free flight experience without constraints, unlocks after earning silver badges or higher in all Holiday Island courses, and gold badges for photos. This page focuses on the Everfrost Island stage of Pilot Wing 64, a snowy and icy area offering a contrast to the game's other environments. It details challenges associated with obtaining pilot licenses using various vehicles like the hang glider, rocket belt, and gyrocopter. The hang glider tasks include taking photos of fire, photo crews, and navigating treacherous mountain crevices, chicken dive. After completing the main tasks, extra games become available, including cannonball, skydiving, and jumble hopper. A character introduction for Goose, a nihilistic migratory bird, is also included. Screenshots showcase gameplay in the icy environment, illustrating hang gliding and jumble hopper gameplay. This 64Dream magazine page offers gameplay tips for several rocket belt and gyrocopter stages. Rocket belt stages involve balloon splitting, Holiday Island, 12 hits total, maximizing high scores with time rings, Jingle Road, and strategically heading a bound ball, Ironhead. Gyrocopter stages are P-class, requiring significant skill. Challenges include strong winds, Ice Hornet, ramming balloons, Balloon Rush, destroy 20 of 30, and defeating a robot old man with missiles while avoiding ice blocks, Hawk again. Players are advised to use the aiming display for target destruction, accounting for wind, and to use heat-seeking missiles for the robot old man. Finally, a memory album feature allows players to capture and share scenic photos taken while hang gliding. Crescent Island, a relaxing resort shaped like a crescent moon, introduces gameplay centered around hang gliding. Players meet characters Kiwi and Ibis and engage in 3 hang glider tasks. Velocity Square requires reaching 400 meters and landing at a specific point, utilizing radar to find thermals. Photo Cruise 2 inches tasks players with photographing whales and fountains, emphasizing proper framings. Seagull Wing is a 3-minute endurance flight requiring precise timing and thermal use. Beyond these tasks, the game encourages challenge-free flight, allowing players to explore the island without constraints, reminiscent of previous games, with a rocket belt altitude limit of 700 meters. The island offers more than just coastline, with towns and buildings to explore for unexpected discoveries. This page details missions from Pilot Wing 64, categorized by rocket belt and gyrocopter. Rocket belt missions include Shadow Route, navigating a cave using fuel efficiently, Diamond Head, using balloons to combat wind, and Touch and Go 2, landing on precarious pads emphasizing radar use. Gyrocopter missions feature Sky Mazarbar, collecting rings along the coast, and Strike Ace, destroying targets while considering wind effects on missiles. The overall theme emphasizes the freedom of flight, drawing parallels to Miyamoto's vision for the SFC version. The N64 version expands on this, encouraging players to enjoy unrestricted flying, exploring vast maps like Little States, even after completing the tasks. The ultimate goal is the continuous enjoyment of flight. Little States is a condensed version of the United States within a game, featuring landmarks like the Grand Canyon and New York. Players can complete challenges of varying difficulty using vehicles such as hang gliders, rocket belts, and gyrocopters. One task involves shooting missiles at Mario Rock with a gyrocopter. Hang glider challenges include reaching high altitudes using thermals, Thermal Flyer, navigating through rings in a Grand Canyon setting, Rising Creek, and a photography mission requiring players to capture specific objects with limited film. Photo Cruise. The Little States environment aims for geographical accuracy, placing landmarks in similar locations to their real-world counterparts. Character profiles for Hawk and Footer are also provided. The content appears to describe gameplay elements within the Nintendo 64 game, Pilotwings 64. Pilotwings 64 offers a variety of missions and gameplay tips. In the Rocket Belt missions, players navigate rings and cityscapes, requiring precise maneuvering and camera adjustments. Gyrocopter missions challenge players with ring courses and target destruction, including a unique encounter with the Mecha Hawk robot. Fuel conservation is crucial, especially in larger areas, with gas stations available for refueling. White rings offer higher scores but pose greater risks. Specific mission details include a Los Angeles-inspired ring course, landing on floating pads, navigating the Mississippi River, acrobatic maneuvers in the Grand Canyon, and battling the Mecha Hawk. General advice covers stall recovery and the value of targeting white rings. The mysterious Mecha Hawk adds a sense of intrigue to the game. Quote, "The next page is an advertisement for the Nintendo 64 shogi game, Saikyu Habu Shogi, which translates to Strongest Habu Shogi. The page highlights Yoshiharu Habu as a shogi master and describes the game as changing the history of shogi games. It mentions the game's release date as June 23rd and price as 9,800 yen. The page features profiles of two individuals. Yoshiharu Habu. Born September 27, 1965, he started shogi as a child, became a professional shogi player at 15, and won his first major title, Ryuo, at 19. He went on to win numerous titles, becoming the first person in history to hold 7 major titles. Shinichiro Kanazawa. Born February 21, 1964, he is a programmer of shogi software. He won the Computer Shogi Software Championship in 1994 with his program Kiwame, and defended his title for 4 consecutive years. He is currently the representative director of the company Kiwame. His shogi skill level is 2 dan. Until this. The text emphasizes that Strongest Habu Shogi is the fastest and strongest shogi software, made by talented people. It mentions that it was created by gathering talent, and is based on the genius shogi player Yoshiharu Habu, who achieved the unprecedented feat of holding 7 major titles in shogi history. The software house is confident in its strength, stating that no previous shogi software can compete. The page recommends this software to both shogi enthusiasts and beginners, suggesting it's easy to learn and enjoyable for everyone. Saikyu Habu Shogi features 8 diverse modes. Matchroom offers standard shogi play with adjustable difficulty. 10-second shogi is a quick-paced mode testing intuition. Reverse shogi introduces flipped board conditions. Research Room provides access to 612 of Habu Meijin's games. Lecture focuses on improving endgame skills. Skill Test assesses player abilities with rank certifications. Shogi School teaches shogi basics to beginners. Disciples Tournament is a survival mode against progressively stronger opponents. The game also allows for extensive environment customization. Players are advised to begin with Shogi School, then progress to other modes, using Research Room for advanced study. A controller pack is needed to save game data. This article from a 1996 issue of 64Dream magazine introduces Saikyu Habu Shogi, a shogi game for Nintendo 64 designed for beginners. The article, Strongest Habu Shogi Way of Playing, Beginner Edition, is divided into 3 sections. Beginner's Classroom, How to Move Pieces, explains basic piece movements. Beginner's Classroom, Practice Edition, provides a mode where players practice moves with assistance from the game. Matchroom allows for full games, recommending a handicap 8 pieces removed setting for beginners on level 1, gradually reducing the handicap as skill increases. The article encourages players to watch computer matches to learn strategy. The game features beginner-friendly interfaces and was released exclusively in Japan. This page is about the shogi, Japanese chess, game, Saikyu Habu Shogi, for the Nintendo 64. Section 4 is a practical battle edition, focusing on shogi checkmate problems, designed for 3 to 5 moves. It explains that solving these problems is effective for improving endgame skills, even for beginners of Strongest Habu Shogi. It mentions there are 30 problems for 3-move checkmates, and 36 problems for 5-move checkmates. Section 5 introduces the beginner edition for 1 to 4 players, highlighting that the initial 4 computer opponents are suitable for beginners. It describes the difficulty levels, starting from handicap matches like flying chariots and bishop drops, progressing to even matches. It also advises players not to give up easily against the computer opponents, as they sometimes make mistakes. The weekly Shogi column editor's one-point advice section offers tips for beginners playing against the computer in Saikyu Habu Shogi, recommending players to specialize in a particular strategy like Yagura for ranging rook, or fourth file rook for static rook positions. It encourages players to persistently use their chosen strategy to master it, and to learn from the computer's varied responses, emphasizing that this will lead to improvement. This page from 64Dream magazine Chapter 2 focuses on "This is the strongest Habu Shogi" and how to play it for intermediate players. It is described as a practical training course. The page details 3 main sections. Firstly, the match room describes the standard game mode, emphasizing that even at level 3, the AI is quite strong and fast. It mentions that game times can be a bit longer, but the AI thinking becomes sharper. The text suggests that winning easily in this mode is difficult, and highlights the give-and-take nature of shogi. Secondly, the checkmating shogi section covers puzzle problems ranging from 7 to 9 moves. It is mentioned that if you are already familiar with basic shogi tactics, 7-move puzzles should be relatively easy extensions of 5-move problems. However, 9-move puzzles are already challenging for experienced players. The text suggests progressing through these levels to improve skill. It also notes there are 87 problems for 7 moves, and 68 problems for 9 moves. Finally, the static rook/ranging rook lecture section promotes learning specific strategies and tactics within these common shogi openings, implying this mode is for deeper learning and understanding of the game's strategic elements. This mode seems to be aimed at mastering proper endgame skills and solidifying player ability. This page is about shogi games and features 2 sections: Apprentice Mode Intermediate Level and Skill Test. The Apprentice Mode Intermediate Level section focuses on a mode in a shogi game where you play against a series of opponents from 5th to 10th in line. It mentions that by level 4, the opponents become quite challenging, especially the 10th opponent, Hiroshi Ida, who is described as quite difficult, even for experienced players. If you can beat him cleanly, you are considered a skilled player. There are profile images and details for some of the opponents, including their age, blood type, hobbies, level, and quotes. The skill test section introduces a challenge mode, where you can test your shogi skills. It mentions that if you can clear this mode, your skill level is at least intermediate. The text describes a personal experience playing this mode, noting the computer opponent's strategy and the increasing difficulty. It mentions playing for several game sessions, highlighting the computer's strong play and even its ability to read 11 moves ahead. It also mentions receiving a certificate of completion voiced by Hanyu Kudan, likely a famous shogi player, possibly Yoshiharu Habu, then a 7-crown champion, upon clearing this class, signifying graduation. The page also has a new soft section and mentions the 64Dream July 1996 at the bottom, indicating this is from a July 1996 issue of the 64Dream magazine. This 64Dream article explores advanced play in Saikyu Habu Shogi. The game caters to ranked amateur players, offering challenging gameplay. 3 modes are highlighted. The Versus mode, levels 4 and 5, features a strong AI that demands strategic flow, with games lasting up to 50 minutes. Tsume Shogi presents complex checkmating problems, 11 to 15 moves, crucial for honing tactical skills. Finally, 10-second shogi cultivates intuition by forcing quick decisions, mirroring professional practice methods. This mode enables rapid gameplay and is recommended for practice. The game's design encourages players to develop skills from beginner to advanced levels. This page from 64Dream magazine introduces 2 challenging modes within a shogi game, likely for the Nintendo 64. The first mode, Advanced Level Disciple, pits players against 8 formidable opponents, with the final challenge being against Mr. Kanazawa at level 5. This mode starts with simpler scenarios and escalates in difficulty. The second mode detailed is the Skill Test, designed to evaluate player ability through a series of timed challenges, increasing in difficulty from beginner to advanced levels. The page highlights the demanding nature of the computer AI in this mode, emphasizing its strategic play and tactical depth. Additionally, there's a weekly shogi section, offering strategic advice from the editor-in-chief, specifically cautioning players about the angle-hanging corner opening strategy when playing against the computer. The page includes screenshots showcasing character portraits with their in-game stats and a results screen from the skill test mode. The 64Dream magazine article reviews Saikyu Habu Shogi, a game featuring professional player Yoshiharu Habu aimed at experienced players. The Matchroom mode offers a challenging AI at a 3rd Dan level, capable of complex checkmates, though exhibiting typical computer illogical moves to avoid loss. The skill test mode is described as extremely difficult, using specific shogi strategies with time limits, and even the final problems being hard. Reverse shogi, a unique mode designed by Habu, allows for fair play between different skill levels by flipping the board to reverse offensive and defensive positions, introducing new strategic elements. The board can be flipped under various conditions, like by a weaker player's choice, randomly, based on disadvantage, or every 5 moves, but not when in check. Strongest Habu Shogi allows players to experience Yoshiharu Habu's shogi career, featuring 612 official matches from 1985 to 1995. The game highlights 3 pivotal matches: Habu's first title win against Oyama at 18, his journey to becoming a Triple Crown champion by winning the Dragon King title, and his historic achievement of 6 crowns after defeating Komenaga for the Meijin title. The game includes a weekly shogi editor's advice, recommending it to both beginners and experienced players. It boasts improved AI and replay features with board positions and controls, making it an engaging experience for shogi enthusiasts. This page is an advertisement for the Sega Saturn game Private Idol. It promotes 2 volumes of the game, featuring a young woman as a private idol. Volume 1, starring Kinoshita Yu, is scheduled for release on July 26 for 3,000 yen, and Volume 2, starring Uchiyama Miki, is scheduled for release on August 30th, also for 3,000 yen. The advertisement emphasizes that this game lets you see the real face of an idol that you can't witness on TV or in magazines, all within the Sega Saturn disc. There are screenshots showcasing different scenes from the game, such as outdoor and stay-home scenarios, suggesting various interactive experiences with the idol character. It also mentions a signing event to commemorate the release of Private Idol DIC with Kinoshita Yu on July 26th and 27th, with details about the location and time to be announced in magazines. This page introduces the Nintendo 64 console and discusses its features. The top panel shows someone asking, "Hey everyone, do you know what Nintendo 64 is?" The response in the next speech bubble clarifies that it's a game machine with a 64-bit CPU released in June. Another section explains the bit concept by saying, usually 16 times 2 equals 32, 32 times 2 equals 64, therefore 16 times 4 equals 64 is how it works, but then clarifies that even so, it's not 4 times faster, or less than 4 times faster, in relation to the 64-bit Nintendo 64 compared to the 16-bit Super Famicom, Super Nintendo Entertainment System. An image of a racing game is shown, possibly to illustrate gaming capabilities. Finally, the page highlights key terms associated with the Nintendo 64, 64-bit, 3D stick, and environment mapping. The next page is themed around the popular Japanese detective drama series Furuhata Ninzaburo, with an image of the detective featured on a television screen alongside a Nintendo 64 console. The text on the page highlights the popularity of the Nintendo 64, suggesting it may even be sold out. Conversations are depicted about games, specifically questioning if the FF series, likely referencing Final Fantasy, will be released for the Nintendo 64. There is also a confirmation, seemingly sourced from a game magazine, that F-Zero is indeed in development for the system. This page originates from the July 1996 issue of 64Dream magazine. This page is a comic strip from the 64Dream July 1996 issue, featuring a group of people discussing the Nintendo 64. The conversation starts with someone firmly stating they will buy the Nintendo 64 no matter what, while another person dismisses it. A girl excitedly talks about it being 64-bit, emphasizing the number 64 twice. A man with glasses then explains that even if another console, hypothetically called O-Turn, had 2 32-bit CPUs, it wouldn't be the same as a true 64-bit system. Another man chimes in, suggesting that clock speed is also an important factor when comparing performance. The characters are named Taki, who is a Nintendo 64 enthusiast, Amura, described as a trendy girl, and Taira, just a game lover. The page ends with a close-up of a serious-looking man asking, "Excuse me?" The overall theme is a humorous take on the anticipation and technical discussions surrounding the upcoming Nintendo 64 console and its 64-bit processor. This page is a manga strip that seems to revolve around a discussion or reaction to the Nintendo 64. The first panel shows a character, possibly named Furitate, asking if she was called. Then there's a panel where someone is shouting at an otaku! Following this, a man apologizes. There's a mention of an Imaikun Hitandron case being described as terrible. One character comments that something is ugly, addressing Furitate again. Someone yells, "Alive!" possibly in excitement or shock. A character with glasses is arguing with a Nintendo 64 otaku about the console being bad. Another panel shows people talking about the Nintendo 64 and how people are being left alone. Someone expresses concern about whether to buy a Nintendo 64. In contrast, another person is saying it's the ultimate game machine. A stylized character expresses confusion and doesn't understand something, possibly related to the tension. Finally, there's an exchange where someone is challenged to explain why something is considered no good, and then agrees to explain. Overall, the page seems to be humorously depicting various reactions and opinions surrounding the Nintendo 64, with some hype and some criticism or concerns being voiced. This page discusses the Nintendo 64's technical capabilities, starting by stating that its main CPU is an improved version of SGI's R4300, highlighting that even compared to the PlayStation's R3000, it's amazing. It is pointed out that it's not just the CPU, as dedicated chips for graphics and sound are also included. The text mentions VF3 environment, suggesting it's capable of handling games like Virtua Fighter 3. Someone says that with all this power, it's the ultimate game machine, especially because memory can be expanded and speed can be further increased later. There's a discussion about memory expansion and whether it's already included. Ultimately, the page concludes that no matter what, the brilliance of the Nintendo 64 is undeniable and recognized. This page appears to be a humorous editorial or review section from 64Dream magazine discussing the Nintendo 64. The first panel shows a close-up of a man admitting the console is wonderful, but he is not satisfied, implying there is a but. The next panel shows another man agreeing, pointing out the large controller, and criticizing the 3D stick, which he feels is likely to break easily, and he dislikes it. A different man in the middle then states that this is a simple case for the inaugural issue, asking whether the Nintendo 64 is the ultimate game machine or a terrible one, clarifying that the first man, Taki, is not a Nintendo 64 enthusiast. It's then stated that Taki's evaluation of the Nintendo 64 is incorrect, suggesting there is a single right answer. The final panel announces a resolution to follow, ending with a playful reference to the Japanese detective drama Furuhata Ninzaburo. This page is a humorous manga strip discussing the Nintendo 64 controller and its analog stick. One character is disputing someone's evaluation, focusing on the controller's central stick. It's pointed out that the correct pronunciation is Sandy Stick and not 3D Stick, with another character jokingly scolding someone for getting it wrong, implying that a true otaku would know better. The idea of being a Nintendo 64 otaku is then dismissed as untrue. There's a side note mentioning the durability of the 3D stick. Despite some confusion expressed by another character, the strip concludes by emphatically recommending that readers should buy it. This page showcases advertisements for a series of first-step books aimed at beginners, focusing on traditional Japanese games and number analysis. The top section advertises 2 books in the First Step series. First is First Step Series 1, Mahjong, which seems to be an introductory guide to Mahjong covering basic rules, gameplay progression, scoring, and practical exercises. Second is First Step Series 2, Go, which is an introductory book to the game of Go, iGo. It covers basic knowledge of the board and stones, fundamental techniques, how to capture stones, and practical examples using a 9x9 board. Below these game books, the page advertises Super Perfect Numbers Data Bank 96. This book appears to be about number data analysis for lottery purposes, focusing on popular and unpopular numbers, number data banks, and data analysis examples. It mentions techniques for number data analysis and aims to help readers analyze numbers and predict lottery outcomes. It claims to offer hints for lottery number selection and provides number databanks for analysis. The book is marketed as being helpful in understanding the relationship between numbers and events in the world, and in finding winning patterns. This page introduces the Dori Dori investigation team and announces their first mission to cover the release date of the Nintendo 64, which is June 23, 1996. The page features cartoon illustrations of the team and introduces two members. Kikuchi Shigeo from the editorial department, described as a physical-type rugby man who values the body over knowledge, and Nakazawa Manabu, also from the editorial department, who is described as a contrarian who prefers Western games over Japanese games. The team's mission is to investigate the Nintendo 64 release trends in Akihabara and Shinjuku. The page credits the editorial department for coverage, text, and photography, and Makino Takashi for the illustrations. This is page 75 from the July 1996 issue of 64Dream magazine. On June 14, 1996, the day of the Nintendo 64's Japanese release, Akihabara, though 64-colored, retained its familiar atmosphere. Before the day, Akihabara reports on the scene, focusing on excitement for the console. Layox Gamican was the only store with demo units, drawing crowds eager to experience the 3D stick and Mario. Enthusiastic children, including Miyagi Yuta, Seki Riko, and Kobayashi Takuya, shared their positive impressions. The article also mentions Jengara Ramen, where a staff member was photographed, and a comment box from a Layox purchasing staff member who stated that pre-orders had closed early due to high demand. Despite this, demo units were available. The article is supported by various photos, showcasing the atmosphere of the area. The July 1996 issue of 64Dream reported from Shinjuku and Yokohama on the hunt for Mario, highlighting the anticipation for the upcoming Nintendo 64. In Shinjuku, amidst dense crowds, the team found pre-order advertisements for the console at major retailers. Yokohama's Minato and Isezakicho areas were explored, with no Mario-related events found. An interview at a Yokohama toy store with a 5-year-old revealed mixed feelings about Mario 64, praising the fun but finding the 3D stick challenging. A demo unit was present, but secured, hindering hands-on experience. Another interview in Shinjuku featured a 29-year-old employee who positively reviewed the 3D stick control and expressed intent to buy the console. A humorous editor's note concluded the article. On June 23, 1996, the Nintendo 64 launched in Japan, met with enthusiastic anticipation. In Akihabara, lines formed at midnight outside Softmap and Layox Gamican, driven by impressive TV commercials and demos of games like Mario. Interviewees expressed excitement about the graphics and gameplay. One individual, Mr. Sato, was swayed by a TV commercial. No. Another highlighted the realistic graphics after experiencing Mario. At Messe Sano, gamers eagerly awaited the chance to play Mario, even without a console at home. Even a Lawson convenience store saw a 35-year-old employee queuing after finishing their shift to get the console quickly. In Shinjuku, people lined up overnight, with queues forming at Softmap. A veteran gamer, Mr. Suzuki, having previously queued for other consoles, was again drawn to the 64-bit Mario graphics. The Shinjuku Softmap queue reached about 40 people. This page covers the launch of the Nintendo 64 in Akihabara on June 23 at 8:30 a.m. The scene is one of great anticipation, as crowds gathered from the night before at stores like Layox, eager to be among the first to purchase the new console. News media, including NHK, were present to document the event, interviewing people in line, including one person at Softmap who had only slept for 30 minutes. The excitement is palpable, described as the start of the story of 64. Even children in line are shown playing arcade games to pass the time. One dedicated fan had waited for 13 hours and was thrilled to finally get their Nintendo 64. Inside the stores, stacks of consoles awaited eager customers. A Layox store manager mentioned the RGB and RF cables, highlighting Super Mario 64 as a major title and noting the limited quantity of consoles available, with restrictions on purchases per person. The Dori Dori investigation report compares the N64 launch to previous gaming crazes, emphasizing the success of pre-orders and the immersive quality of Super Mario 64. The report concludes by expressing the reporter's exhaustion after witnessing the launch event, but also a sense of its significance. This page is a question and answer section titled, Teach Me, Hanjo-san, which is directed to Mr. Hanjo from Nintendo. The section addresses questions about the Nintendo 64. The question posed on this page is about the size of the Nintendo 64 console and why it might be smaller than expected. Mr. Hanjo's answer explains that while technically the console could be made smaller, as it doesn't require parts like a CD-ROM drive, the current size is considered appropriate. He mentions reasons such as not making the cartridge slot too small and ensuring enough space for the 4 controller ports. The page includes a profile of Mr. Hanjo, stating he was born in 1959, is from Shiga Prefecture, joined Nintendo in 1971, works in public relations, and is a father. There are also images of Mr. Hanjo himself and a photograph showcasing the Nintendo 64 console and its controller. This Q&A with Nintendo employees addresses questions about the Nintendo 64. The first question concerns the availability of multiple console colors. The initial response confirms no plans for more than one color at launch, hinting at potential future variations like the Game Boy Color. The second question reveals that an employee from Nintendo's third development department, also involved in the Super Famicom and New Famicom design, designed the console's overall aesthetic, including packaging. This employee's name is not disclosed due to their current managerial role, but the design is described as American-like and stylish. Finally, the Q&A explains the removal of the ejector button as a cost-saving measure. The decision to remove the ejector button was made because other buttons could perform the same function. This Q&A section covers various aspects of the Nintendo 64. Cartridges can be ejected during gameplay, though it's not recommended. Overseas and Japanese N64 consoles are similar in shape and color, but game compatibility is region-locked, meaning US software won't play on Japanese consoles. The N64's black color was chosen for its solidity after extensive prototyping. The 3D stick is durable, with design improvements for better use. The console itself is built to withstand rough handling, exceeding industry standards, and can be repaired at Nintendo service centers or game stores. This 64Dream magazine segment addresses Nintendo 64 controller inquiries. The first question explores optimal grip techniques. The article highlights 4 positions: right position for games like Mario 64, left position using the D-pad and stick, single hand position for strategy games, and table position for stability. The second question concerns the long controller cord. Nintendo designed it for use with larger televisions, enabling comfortable gameplay from a distance and acknowledging improving image quality and global player habits and cultural contexts. The N64 cord is notably longer than those of earlier consoles. Finally, the article addresses the lack of a controller pack slot cover. Nintendo reasoned a cover was unnecessary since players would likely leave the pack inserted. They also considered that a cover could be easily misplaced. Dust isn't viewed as a significant issue, and the article suggests a controller pack purchase for slot protection if desired. This magazine page answers reader questions about the Nintendo 64. There are no plans for a smaller controller kids version, as the current controller is suitable for young children. 3D stick is internally read as Sandy, due to a Nintendo pronunciation preference. The N64 adapter couldn't be Super Famicom compatible, because the N64's higher specs and transformer size made it technically infeasible. RGB video output was omitted to save costs, as RGB TVs were becoming less common. Finally, the page highlights the enjoyment of Super Mario 64, focusing on the freedom of exploration in the 3D world, the detailed environments, and the game's focus on setting and achieving personal goals. This Q&A from Teach Us, Hanasan Questions to Nintendo, discusses the Nintendo 64. Mario's new vocalizations, intended to boost player empathy, are explained. The number of developers for Super Mario 64 is cited as approximately 80, though not all worked solely on the game. Extensive monitor checks were conducted using the Super Mario Club, a group of diverse testers. Nintendo anticipates releasing about 80% of the games shown at E3 in Japan, aiming for around 10 titles by year-end, although this number is not fixed. Regarding third-party software releases, Nintendo states they are unaware of release plans, while noting partnerships with roughly 50 companies. This article from 64Dream magazine answers reader questions about the Nintendo 64. 3 key questions are addressed. First, regarding upcoming software, the magazine teases 3 soon-to-be-released titles, potentially including Mario 64, Star Fox 64, and Wave Race 64. Secondly, Nintendo defends the use of cartridges over CD-ROM, citing faster loading times, uninterrupted gameplay, and potential for future technological advancements like the Mario chip. They believe cartridges prioritize quality and see them as an evolving medium. Finally, the 64DD's unveiling is slated for November at the Shoshinkai event, and rumors suggest a zip disk format with potential internet connectivity, though details are scarce. Nintendo's Q&A reveals production plans for the Nintendo 64, with 5 million units slated by the following March, primarily manufactured in Japan. The Super Famicom and Game Boy continue to thrive, boosted by successes like Pokémon and anticipated games such as Super Donkey Kong 3 and Marvelous. The Nintendo 64 name was championed by Mr. Arai, chosen over alternatives like Ultra 64 inches to leverage Nintendo's brand recognition, particularly in America. The name received global approval. Finally, the N-Cube logo for the Nintendo 64 represents the N in 3D computer graphics, designed to be recognizable from any angle and using 6 colors. Reiji Matsumoto, a renowned figure in science fiction, envisions a future of gaming revolutionized by direct brainwave connection, coinciding with the Nintendo 64 era. He imagines games where mental commands replace controllers, creating immersive experiences within the mind. This would eliminate complex commands, allowing players to move characters simply by thinking. Matsumoto, creator of iconic series like Space Battleship Yamato, sees this technology evolving into realistic simulations encompassing diverse genres. He anticipates games offering rich, sensory experiences and fulfilling wishes, expanding life into a virtual dimension. While acknowledging potential physical concerns, Matsumoto believes these games are crucial for long-term space travel. He argues that replicating Earth-like experiences within a game will combat the isolation and length of interstellar voyages, making space exploration more bearable for humanity. This page explores themes within gaming and manga, showcasing Matsumoto Leiji's The Cockpit CDROM, a Shogakukan release featuring manga scenes and data on Japanese warplanes. The page includes an image of a B-29 bomb site and touches on Matsumoto's reflection on its use. The text delves into game design philosophy, proposing games where players confront unbeatable opponents, potentially releasing frustration. It also suggests games preserving a youthful self. Further, the text anticipates the evolution of games, moving beyond entertainment toward dreamlike, human-created experiences. It concludes with a desire for player-driven games with user-created worlds and narratives, despite the developmental challenges involved. This page is advertising the game Gal Panic 2, an action puzzle game that promises double the excitement with live action and anime elements. The game is available as a BOOK and CD-ROM, and is currently on sale for 7,800 yen. It is compatible with both PC-98 and DOS/V systems, and a special bonus is included: a swimsuit poster of Misako Maeda. Misako Maeda, who gained popularity in Graduation R, is featured in the game, smiling in 15 different costumes. The advertisement highlights the gameplay, mentioning using items and avoiding enemy attacks to keep the cute girl's appearance. It also states that the arcade hit Gal Panic has been powered up, featuring 45 rounds in both live-action mode and anime mode. The page also advertises the Gal Panic 2 official photo collection, featuring Misako Maeda, which is being released at the same time for 1,200 yen. The game is developed by Kaneko Manufacturing and published by Mainichi Communications. System requirements for both PC-98 and DOS/V versions are listed. This page is a manga strip titled, Let's Go! Nittentown, Address 64 from the magazine 64Dream. It introduces Mario, a cheerful 10-year-old elementary school student who lives in Nittentown, Address 64. In the first panel, Mari is happily walking her pet turtle, Kamekichi, and singing about their morning walk. Kamekichi is described as a bright and energetic pet of Mario. In the next panel, Mari greets Mr. Habu, who is standing outside his house, with a cheerful, "Good morning!" Mr. Habu replies, commenting that Mari's morning walks are tough. But Mari responds that it's not hard at all, because she gets to pass by a certain place every morning. The final panel reveals the reason for Mari's cheerful mornings. She is motivated by the prospect of seeing a girl, who is shown stretching and waking up in a window of a castle-like building. The author of this manga is Kato Reijiro, and the page is from the July 1996 issue of 64Dream. This page is a manga page featuring Mario and a girl named B. Momoko, who is described as a 10-year-old classmate of Mario and the daughter of a wealthy person. In the first panel, Momoko greets Mario with, "Good morning, Mario-kun." Mario, flustered, replies with, "Good morning, Momoko-chan," and thinks to himself that Momoko is cute as always. Suddenly, in the next panel, both of them notice something strange happening in the town, as people scream in fear. A large, shadowy monster called Bagura appears with rumbling sounds and roars loudly. Mario is shocked and exclaims, "Kaiju! Monster is here!" This page is a humorous manga strip that seems to be introducing the Nintendo 64 controller in a fun way. It starts with a creature named Baglar, described as an evil monster disrupting universal peace. A boy wearing a Mario-esque cap is revealed to be a space soldier who was secretly patrolling Earth while pretending to be a pet. He presents a Nintendo 64 controller, calling it the 64 Robo controller, designed for a 64 Robo. He urges Baglar to use it, but Baglar struggles, claiming it's a design flaw and that he can't control it properly with his hands. Ultimately, the boy decides to take charge himself, declaring, "Go 64 Robo!" The final panel shows a castle backdrop, suggesting an adventure is about to begin with the 64 Robo. The overall tone is comedic and playful, likely aimed at generating excitement for the Nintendo 64 and its controller. This page features a manga comic strip titled 64 Robo, which seems to be related to the magazine's theme. The comic depicts a boy with a bee on his hat, expressing surprise that Momoko-chan's house has secretly been modified. Momoko-chan inside her castle house is shocked as her house transforms into a robot. A turtle character explains that the robot's movements are strange due to a bug beam that confuses opponents. The final panels show the robot castle collapsing and people reacting in fear and surprise as it falls apart. This page seems to be a promotional manga for a Nintendo 64 game, featuring Mario in action. In the top left, a character is surprised, noticing that it's Mr. Hanyu's house that's in danger. Next, Koopa Troopa urgently calls out to shoot the vaccine quickly, and then expresses relief, saying, "All right, it's all right now." In the top right panel, we see a castle being punched by a giant fist, labeled with 64. A princess inside the castle window cries, "Help me!" The speech bubble connected to the fist says, "Take this, Bagular! Fist of Fury," indicating Mario is attacking an enemy named Bagular. The middle of the page highlights the attack with large text, 64 Punch, showing Mario's fist in a dynamic panel. The panel to the right shows Bagular being punched away, with the sound effect, Bagoo. In the final bottom panel, Koopa Troopa celebrates, saying "Yay." He then explains to Mario that there are many enemies stronger than Bagular in space. Let's protect the peace of this Earth, together with 64 Robo Mario, suggesting a larger cosmic battle ahead, and the involvement of a 64 Robo. This page is likely advertising an upcoming Mario game for the Nintendo 64 console, showcasing action and adventure with new elements like 64 Robo and enemies beyond just Bagular. This reader's page from a 1996 issue of 64Dream features a playful look at Mario Kart. The main section chronicles a heated in-game battle between the editor-in-chief and the deputy editor, filled with complaints about unfair tactics, item use, especially red shells and lightning, and character imbalances. The dialogue highlights the competitive spirit and frustrations common in the game. The competition continues with a strategic desk person joining the fray, accused of calculated moves against Donkey Kong. The editor-in-chief's playful threats of a transfer to the South Pole branch are countered by the desk person's apparent mastery. An image depicts an exhausted Kong in a running shirt, cheered on by a crowd. The page concludes with pixel art characters from Mario Kart and a thank you image, representing the Special Cup ending, and jokingly acknowledging the hardships players endure to achieve it. An article previews Super Mario Kart R, highlighting its character roster featuring Mario, Luigi, and other familiar faces, but surprisingly excluding Donkey Kong and Koopa Troopa. The editorial team enjoyed the gameplay, reaching the 150cc ending, though they felt the 100cc ending lacked significant variation. A humorous exchange between the editor-in-chief and a desk member focuses on Donkey Kong's absence, the former expressing disappointment, while the latter teases his obsession. A screenshot confirms their exclusion, noting their rivalry in Super Famicom Mario Kart, while Wario and Kamek are revealed as new additions. The article suggests potential reasons for the omissions, ending with encouragement for fans. Finally, the article introduces a reader participation project, Game Relationship, inviting submissions on game excuses, soliciting personal stories, photos, and illustrations, with rewards for published content. 64Dream magazine is hiring for its new monthly publication, starting September 21st. They seek enthusiastic individuals for editorial staff, editorial assistant, and writer positions. Ideal candidates enjoy entertainment, RPGs, writing, and meeting people, with diverse interests like gaming, pop culture, and everyday life. Editorial staff will handle planning, writing, interviews, and DTP. Editorial assistants will support editorial tasks and office duties. Writers will create game-related content and conduct interviews. Applicants for editorial staff and assistants should ideally be able to commute to the Tokyo office. Writers need to submit writing samples. All applicants must submit a resume and self-PR statement. No phone inquiries are accepted. Positions are not for full-time or contract employees. Apply by mail to the specified Tokyo address, clearly marking the envelope for the 64Dream editorial department staff recruitment. This page is announcing a Game Grand March for Nintendo 64 software, stating that fun software is appearing one after another. The page is a collage of various Nintendo 64 game screenshots, including images that resemble Mario Kart 64 and Star Wars: Shadows of the Empire, showcasing the range of games coming to the platform. The number 64 is prominently displayed in the top left corner, emphasizing the Nintendo 64 console. It's designed to generate excitement for the upcoming games on the Nintendo 64. This 64Dream magazine page forecasts the Nintendo 64's game lineup, predicting over 15 titles. October's anticipated releases include Mario Kart 64, x Star Fox 64, Planet Daub, Blade and Barrel, x Super Space Niter Pro Baseball King, x Soccer, x Tetrasphere, x Star Wars, Shadows of the Empire, Blast Corps, x Mission Impossible, and * GoldenEye 007. The schedule also acknowledges Japanese third-party developers, mentioning games from Sega, Imagineer, T&E Soft, Kemco, Enix, Konami, and Epoch. The Tokyo Game Show '96 was a place for new game announcements. The American N64 launch on September 30th featured titles like Super Mario 64 * and * Pilotwings 64. By year-end, games like Banjo-Kazooie, GoldenEye 007, and * Blast Corps were expected, with an estimated 80% expected to also be released in Japan. This page previews upcoming Nintendo 64 games. Noteworthy titles include Kirby's Air Ride, a multiplayer racing game; Multi-Racing, promising realism and player control; The Legend of Zelda 64, potentially evolving with the 64DD; and F-Zero 64, aiming for enhanced scenery. Other games featured are Wonder Project J Sequel, a nurturing simulation; Doraemon, an action game; Robotech, a 3D shooting game; and Kindaichi Case Files, based on the popular manga. The page also discusses end-of-year N64 sales expectations, projecting 1.5 million units sold in Japan, with Nintendo planning 5 million worldwide by the following March. Software developers are actively creating games for the console, and even smaller companies are finding it accessible. Finally, Doom 64 is mentioned. This page is about the upcoming Nintendo 64 game Super Mario Kart R, which is being touted as a 4-player racing game. It's highlighted as a sequel in the Super Famicom Mario Kart series and emphasizes the new ability for 4 players to compete simultaneously, promising even more heated races than the previous 2-player experience. The article points out the 3D graphics and the use of the 3D stick controller. The text also mentions new racers, with Kamek and Wario replacing Koopa Troopa and Donkey Kong, and highlights the enhanced realism of the graphics and driver expressions in the R-Real version. Screenshots show gameplay with speedometers and rankings displayed, as well as a start screen featuring Wario. The article suggests that cornering will be important, and shortcuts will be possible in the 3D environments. It also mentions the nostalgic Haunted House course, featuring semi-transparent ghosts. The game is described as taking advantage of the Nintendo 64's hardware capabilities to achieve 4-player mode, which wasn't possible before, and offers modes like Grand Prix, Time Attack, and Battle Mode, similar to previous games. This text previews Mario Kart 64, highlighting features and raising questions about its development. Screenshots showcase the start screen, off-road courses enhanced by 3Ds, and split-screen multiplayer modes. The absence of Donkey Kong and Koopa Troopa from the character selection is noted, with speculation about their removal. The text also questions the title Mario Kart R, with Nintendo remaining vague about the R's meaning. Release dates are discussed, with anticipation building for an autumn launch, possibly under a different title like Mario Kart 64. The article expresses excitement for the game's arrival. This page from 64Dream July 1996 magazine showcases Star Fox 64 for the Nintendo 64. The article highlights the return of the spirited guys on the new console and emphasizes the improvements over the Super Famicom version. It mentions the game utilizing the power of the Nintendo 64 to deliver enhanced graphics, sound effects, and 3D controls using the analog stick. The screenshots demonstrate detailed graphics with R-Wing engine effects, cockpit views of Fox, and large boss characters, emphasizing the immersive battle scenes. The text also notes that Shigeru Miyamoto is involved in the production, following his work on Mario 64. The article anticipates impressive textures, ray field effects, and explosions. Regarding the game system, it states that the Nintendo 64 version builds upon the Super Famicom game, with more weapon variations, 360-degree rotation, and improved controls via the 3D stick, promising responsive gameplay and view changes for an immersive experience. The release is anticipated for fall, with the price yet to be determined. This page showcases a preview of Star Fox 64 for the Nintendo 64. The article highlights key aspects of the game through screenshots and commentary. One caption discusses a screen effect, asking if it's a smart bomb, a boss character's attack, or perhaps a black hole. Another caption points out the visually appealing graphics, even at close range, emphasizing the detailed textures and character distance representation. A further caption questions whether a warship shown as an ally or an enemy transforming into an R-Wing, noting caterpillar tracks are visible. The article wonders what a green object in a screenshot could be, suggesting the top left gauge is related to shields and the top right is a speedometer. It mentions the game offers a unique play experience. The possibility of 4-player simultaneous play is also hinted at. The Points of Expectation section states that impressive graphics and sound are expected from a Nintendo 64 title, and emphasizes the core gameplay experience. It anticipates intuitive controls, using the 3D stick and viewpoint changes. The article expresses excitement for the immersive 3D spaceflight experience exceeding the previous title, and mentions the protagonist Fox and his 3 companions. The section on possibility of release in Japan mentions that while there aren't many launch titles for the Nintendo 64, there's confidence in the quality, comparing it to Super Mario 64. It anticipates Mario being popular during summer, and expects this title, Star Fox 64, to be a major release around autumn. Wave Race 64, a jet ski racing game for the Nintendo 64, is designed to showcase the console's 64-bit power with races determined in milliseconds. Featuring single and 2-player modes, the game emphasizes speed and incorporates realistic water physics, waves, and dynamic weather. Players can compete in standard races, time attack, stunt, and VS modes. Simple controls, using the accelerator and 3D stick, belie a deep gameplay experience. The game differentiates itself from land-based racing, as drafting is ineffective. Wave Race 64 will provide unique sensations, with jumps, banked turns, and weather-impacting handling. The game, published by Nintendo, is slated for an autumn release, with the price to be announced. This page introduces the game Wave Race 64 for the Nintendo 64. The screenshots show watercraft racing gameplay, emphasizing checkpoint races and the competitive aspect. One image highlights the 2-player split-screen mode for competitive races. The game features 4 different modes and allows players to choose from various courses in watercraft. The page mentions that going off-course will be penalized, indicated by an X on screen. It also shows watercraft jumping and possible course markers or direction indicators. Wave Race 64 is described as being easy and fun to play, suitable for both serious and casual players, and is expected to be a big hit when it releases in the fall of 1996. Super Space Nighter Pro Baseball King, Provisional, later released as Major League Baseball featuring Ken Griffey Jr., was a 4-player 3D baseball game for the Nintendo 64, developed by Imagineer, slated for a 1996 release. The game aimed to offer a realistic and dynamic baseball experience, utilizing polygon graphics to surpass sprite-based games. It featured accurate player data from the Japan Professional Baseball Organization, reflecting player abilities and statistics. The game offered 6 adjustable camera viewpoints, with dynamic camera angles mimicking a sports broadcast. Characters were designed in a comical two-headed style, adding humor to the gameplay. The game included 14 detailed stadiums with varying designs. Screenshots showcased team selection screens with player stats and in-game action with polygon graphics and dynamic camera angles. Professional Baseball King, a Nintendo 64 baseball game developed by Imagineer and GE&KI, was slated for a Japanese autumn 1996 release. The game boasted realistic player movements, detailed pitching animations, and dramatic scenes including close calls, home runs, and even potentially retirements. Key gameplay features highlighted include replay functionality, diverse camera angles, and dynamic dugout reactions. A major draw was the 4-player mode, enabling team battles or cooperative play. Players could customize open match settings, including innings, stadium, and rules. Pennant Race offered league seasons up to 130 games, with a digest mode for quicker progression. Development was ongoing, with edit and training modes planned, and a dynamic camera system for optimal viewing. This article discusses the Nintendo 64 game Mission Impossible. Japanese title: Mission Impossible: Impossible Missions Execute. A shooting action-adventure game based on the popular American TV series. Players assume the role of an IMF agent completing impossible missions, experiencing 360-degree 3D action with hand-to-hand combat and shooting. The game utilizes the Nintendo 64's 3D modeling capabilities for a more realistic experience, including close-quarters combat and stealth elements. The article also references the successful Mission Impossible movie starring Tom Cruise, noting its box office success in Japan. A U.S. release is planned, with a high probability of a subsequent Japanese release. The game is categorized as an action and shooting game, but the release date and price are yet to be determined. This page is an advertisement for the game GoldenEye 007 for the Nintendo 64. It highlights that the game is based on the James Bond movie and features the 5th-generation Bond, Pierce Brosnan. The game's story puts players in the role of 007, tasked with stopping a plot involving nuclear weapons by the villainous General Arumofu of the Russian army, who is trying to steal space weapons. The game stages include locations like a Russian gas factory, Severnaya space weapon base, Red Square, and Cuban antenna base. The developers visited movie studios multiple times to achieve a polished finish, even incorporating scenes from the movie that were cut, such as chases and Cuban jungle scenes. The page emphasizes the realistic gameplay, stating that players will experience the same tension as a spy in the game, and that while health recovers easily, players can only carry a limited number of weapons. The game uses a 3D stick for control, allowing players to move freely in 360 degrees, jump, and climb ladders. Screenshots depict in-game scenes, such as a rocket launch, a 3D view from Bond's perspective, and a scene with Bond, armed with what seems to be an AK-47. It also mentions that in this version, Bond's boss M is female and his car is a BMW, which might be a bit disappointing for longtime fans, but represents the changing times. The article concludes with a statement expressing confidence in the game's release in Japan due to 07's immense popularity. Star Wars: Shadows of the Empire for the Nintendo 64 is presented as a pinnacle of Star Wars gaming, offering a distinct and thrilling, movie-like experience. The game, developed with LucasArts' involvement, features stunning graphics and explosive action. Gameplay screenshots showcase diverse elements: cockpit views for shooting sequences, including targeting snowwalkers, dogfights with the Millennium Falcon, third-person perspective, and Doom-style shooting levels. The game immerses players in the Star Wars universe, with accurately recreated scenes, varied gameplay, snowy plains, speeder bike chases, dogfights, and praiseworthy sound design. Players assume the role of a Rebel Alliance soldier, battling alongside iconic characters. The article anticipates a Japanese release, citing Star Wars' popularity and successful console launches in the region. Blade and Barrel is a 3D battle-action shooting game for the Nintendo 64, developed by Kemco, featuring tank versus helicopter combat. Players can control either vehicle using the 3D stick for nuanced control, with a multi-view system for realistic gameplay. Up to 4 players can engage in simultaneous battles across over 30 stadium-like stages. Game modes include practice, one-player/team, and a scenario mode. Gameplay emphasizes balanced combat between tanks and helicopters. Kemco is also developing other games, with release dates planned throughout the year and into the following year. Q-on-Pay, a new 3D action puzzle game for Nintendo 64 from T&E Soft, is scheduled for a mid-September release. This unique title is the first puzzle game for the system, challenging players to erase colored panels by rolling a six-sided cube. The game utilizes the N64's graphics for beautiful 3D CG with semi-transparent stages, offering a Tetris-like experience with added depth. Players clear panels by matching the cube's colors to the panels. With simple D-pad controls, Q-on-Pay requires strategic thinking across 200 stages, split between normal and puzzle modes. Players will be challenged in normal mode, and the game will test the player's abilities even further in puzzle mode. The stages are set in futuristic cities and pyramids. Futurion. Score recording for up to 4 players, encouraging social gameplay. The game aims to provide a fresh and strategic brain workout. Kirby's Air Ride for the Nintendo 64 is presented as a revitalized Kirby experience, showcasing a vibrant, pastel-colored polygonal world with dynamic camera angles and 4-player gameplay. Gameplay is inspired by racing games like F-Zero and Mario Kart, moving away from traditional running/turning mechanics to focus on sliding on a snowboard-like device. The game emphasizes strategic use of skills and accurate pylon hits, with switches and enemies adding complexity. 3D stick controls are designed to be intuitive, allowing for simple actions and complex maneuvers, aiming to create an accessible yet engaging experience. The article highlights the exciting multiplayer capabilities, enabling simultaneous competition for up to 4 players, with anticipation for the inclusion of other familiar characters and a focus on the new 3D stick controls in a multiplayer environment. This page is about the game Blast Corps for the Nintendo 64. The game is focused on destruction, with the keyword being destruction, and the goal to destroy city buildings to experience exhilaration. However, it's not just mindless destruction. Players need to strengthen radioactive waste disposal units along the missile truck's path and operate cranes to build bridges for the truck. The game's story revolves around protecting cities from radiation. A truck carrying nuclear missiles is out of control, and if it crashes into buildings, it will explode and destroy the city. The player is a member of Blast Corps, tasked with destroying all obstacles in the truck's path to prevent missile explosions and save lives. The page mentions diggers as destruction units, including trucks and robots, each with unique destruction methods. Players control these diggers to efficiently destroy obstacles. There are around 60 stages, including bonus stages, set in 3D terrains with hills and valleys. One screenshot shows a destruction robot called Thunderfist, removing buildings in front of the rocket truck. The Japanese article mentions that Blast Corps, which was initially called Blast Dozer at a show last year, is being developed by Rare, the UK company famous for Super Donkey Kong. While the game's visuals have a dark feel, it is likely to be released in Japan given the relationship between Nintendo and Rare. The US release is planned for the end of 1996. This page is an advertisement for the upcoming Nintendo 64 game, Robotech: Crystal Dreams. It highlights that the game is based on the popular anime, Super Dimensional Fortress Macross, known as Robotech in the West. The game promises to recreate the world of Macross, with a completely new story. Players will pilot a Veritech, a mecha capable of transforming into 3 different forms, and fight against the Zentradi army in a shooting game with a strong emphasis on drama. Screenshots showcase the game's cockpit view, player perspective shooting, and the Veritech in various modes. It is mentioned that the game is planned for release by year-end in Japan and is expected in autumn in the US, with the price yet to be determined. The publisher is Gamatech. The article suggests that there's a near 100% chance of the game being released in Japan due to the popularity of the original anime and a large fan base, and there is a possibility of a simultaneous release in Japan and the US. This page introduces 2 upcoming games for the Nintendo 64, Doom 64 and Turok: Dinosaur Hunter. Doom 64, published by Williams Entertainment, is described as carrying on the legacy of the original PC hit Doom, promising unbearable tension and leveraging the N64's 64-bit power for enhanced graphics and smoother gameplay. The article emphasizes the immersive fear and strategic elements of navigating maze-like environments filled with monsters. The game is highlighted for its survival game masterpiece quality. Turok: Dinosaur Hunter, published by Acclaim, is based on the popular American comic and is framed as a strategic action game with puzzle elements, unlike a straightforward Doom-like shooter. The protagonist, Turok, is noted as being a Native American. The game's story involves time-slipping and diverse weaponry, from bows and arrows to grenade launchers and Vulcan cannons, encouraging strategic weapon use. Both games are anticipated for release in Japan, but there's a discussion about potential censorship for violent content in Turok, questioning its suitability for the Japanese market due to its intense gore. Release dates and prices are undecided for both titles. This page features previews of 2 games. The first is Wayne Gretzky 3D Hockey, a hockey game supervised by Wayne Gretzky for the N64. It's described as a realistic hockey game using polygon graphics, with accurate player likenesses from the NHL. The article highlights the 3D graphics and mentions the possibility of multiplayer with up to 4 players. It notes that while a Japanese release is possible, it might be limited due to the potential lack of familiarity with NHL players in Japan. The US release is planned for November. The second game featured is Cruisin' USA, described as an arcade racing game being ported to the N64. The article emphasizes the beautiful graphics possible on the Nintendo 64 and the realistic driving experience. It mentions 10 short courses and a 14-stage road race structure. The game allows players to race through various locations across America. It points out that the arcade version ran on the Ultra 64 board, and the N64 version is a complete port. While some arcade units may have been imported to Japan, the game's American setting might make it less appealing to Japanese players, leading to a potentially doubtful Japanese release. This page previews 2 Nintendo 64 games. Killer Instinct 64, a fighting game, boasts improved graphics and dynamic camera work, creating an immersive experience. The article highlights the game's intense action, unique characters, and atmosphere, but questions its appeal in Japan due to its graphic style. Body Harvest, an action-adventure game, features aliens consuming humans. Players control Adam Drake, battling aliens across different historical periods using diverse vehicles. The game offers campaign-style progression and strategic gameplay. Like Killer Instinct 64, the article expresses doubt about its Japanese release, citing the mature content as a potential barrier. The next page from 64Dream magazine, July 1996 issue, highlights upcoming N64 games under the section Other Software. It features various titles currently in development. First up is Ken Griffey Jr. Baseball, developed by Angel Studios and published by Nintendo. Described as a 3D baseball game featuring the famous baseball player Ken Griffey Jr., while a popular series, its Japanese release is uncertain. Next is Tetrisphere, again from Nintendo, characterized as a unique puzzle game in the Tetris lineage. Ultra Descent. Ultra Descent from Interplay is presented as a 3D dungeon shooting game, emphasizing the use of the 3D stick for control. FIFA 96 from Electronic Arts is a soccer game boasting over 100 teams, with speed being a key element. Freak Boy from Virgin Interactive is introduced as an action shooting game where players assemble robots, possibly related to or similar to Blastcore. Monster Dunk from Mindscape is mentioned as a unique basketball game. Doraemon from Epoch is a new N64 game featuring the popular character Doraemon, with a storyline involving rescuing a princess and featuring familiar characters like Nobita, Gian, and Shizuka. The section Other Software in Development lists a number of upcoming games with tentative titles and expected release periods, including Wonder Project J Sequel, J-League Soccer, Dynamite Soccer, Soccer, Baseball, Golf, Goemon Adventure, Mystical Ninja starring Goemon, Mahjong, Kindaichi Case Files, Multi-Racing, Legend of Zelda 64, Ocarina of Time, Mother 3, Earthbound 64, NBA Hangtime, Buggy Boogie, Robotron X, War Gods, and Silicon Valley, Gearheads. This page is about the grand opening of the Nintendo homepage on June 21st, highlighting it as a way to catch Mario on the internet. The article describes the Nintendo homepage as a significant event, comparable to a title screen for games, where users can access various menus related to Nintendo 64, Super Famicom, Satellaview, and Virtual Boy. The website will feature screenshots and information, including details about Nintendo 64 software, such as Super Mario 64 and Pilot Wings 64. It also mentions a news section that will provide updates on upcoming events, including a Nintendo 64 presentation meeting scheduled for November, hinting at information about new products like the 64DD and Zelda no Densetsu 64, the then current name for the upcoming Zelda game. The website address is provided as http://www.nintendo.co.jp/index.html. This page is introducing the official homepage of Nintendo of America, inviting readers to get the latest information from America. It highlights the merit of getting information from the internet, emphasizing its freshness. The page focuses on the Electronic Entertainment Expo, E3, noting over 400 companies participated in the show held for 3 days from May 16th to 18th. Information revealed at the show about Nintendo 64 was being distributed worldwide via the internet on the same day, making it a valuable resource for general game fans. The page showcases screenshots from the Nintendo of America website, displaying sections for Super Mario RPG, E3 announcements, other news and more, N64 screenshots, classified information codes, and Donkey Kong Country 2 features. It also shows an E3 product research page, asking about preferred N64 controller colors. The page also features Welcome to Super Mario RPG Land of the 7 Stars screen. The text encourages readers to use the all-English website as an opportunity to study English. It mentions hints for the next page and hints to input your email address to receive Mario RPG strategy information. Finally, it points out a striking Donkey Kong Country 2 page, hinting at a possible renewal of the page and the upcoming Kong 3 release within the year. This text reviews several early Nintendo 64 websites. Vega Bros and Flint Bros offered news, a gallery with screenshots, and press releases, even covering Super Famicom and Virtual Boy. Nintendo 64 Central provided downloadable movies, E3 reports, and technical data. Nintendo 64 Info Center was a text-heavy site with news about the console's name change and release delays. Spawn's Nintendo 64, a passionate fan site, covered news and rumors from the console's announcement through E3. Capscott's Ultra 64 webpage, despite claiming reliability, was outdated. The Nintendo 64 page listed upcoming software and already discussed 128-bit console rumors, even before the N64's US release. This page reviews several websites from 1996 dedicated to the Nintendo 64 and broader gaming platforms. Gonzo and B's Unofficial showcased N64 screenshots, while Dr. Dog's Nintendo page provided information across various Nintendo consoles, including the N64. Next Generation Online covered multiple platforms with news, forums, and previews. Nintendo 64 headquarters offered daily updates sourced from other websites, despite its unofficial status. The unofficial Nintendo homepage, a Swedish site, featured older content, and online magazine Game Japan delivered weekly Japanese game news for various platforms, including the N64. The review highlights the early online presence of the N64 and other gaming platforms. This page is showcasing the Super Mario Goods collection, highlighting various Mario merchandises available, from figures and toys to everyday items and non-sale prizes. These items are presented as prizes obtainable from game centers or Crane Games. The first section, Game Center, introduces 3 types of Mario goods. First are keychains featuring characters from Super Mario RPG. These keychains, depicting the characters in a charmingly deformed style, are non-sale Crane Game prizes planned for release in September by Banpresto. Secondly, there are large plush toys from the Big Size Series Super Mario World line, also non-sale Crane Game prizes by Banpresto. Lastly, the page mentions Super Mario Kart Pullback DX cars, which are non-sale Crane Game prizes from Takara Amusement. The second section, Cooking, features Mario-themed kitchen goods and stamps. The kitchen goods are non-sale Crane Game prizes by Kakifusement. The small figures shown are actually stamps, described as being both decorative and functional, perfect for decorating letters or marking calendars. This page showcases Super Mario-themed stationery and kitchenware. The top section features kitchen items, like a Super Mario hot sandwich maker that imprints Mario's face on toast, Super Mario cooking knives in small and large sizes, and a Super Mario chopping board. The text suggests these are safe and easy for kids to use, promoting helping mothers in the kitchen. The middle section highlights stationery, with items like a Yoshi's Island character stamp, Super Mario writing mats, game card cases, game notebooks, rulers, and various game-themed stationery items. The text emphasizes that these stationery items are designed to be fun and game-like, making studying enjoyable, though it humorously warns against using them during class. The bottom section shows more stationery items, including character erasers and mascot pencils featuring Mario and Yoshi. There are also magnet clips shaped like Mario characters, suggested for use in classrooms or offices to organize papers and add a playful touch. Prices are listed for most items. This page is showcasing various Super Mario-themed merchandise divided into categories of medical, cleaning, and fashion items. In the medical section, there are Super Mario-branded medical goods, which are not for sale and made by Medical Land. These include bottles of liquid and bandages featuring Mario characters, suggesting that even medicine can be more appealing with Mario. The cleaning section promotes items to keep your game cartridges in good condition. Mario de Dash is a cleaning spray priced at 980 yen from Unidax, designed to remove dust and prevent static electricity buildup on game cartridges. There's also a Super System rack for 2,500 yen, a cassette case for 280 yen, and a Super Cassette rack for 2,500 yen, all aimed at storing and protecting Super Famicom cartridges. The text emphasizes the importance of caring for game cartridges to avoid contact issues. The one-point item section features Super Mario fashion accessories. Super Mario buttons are priced between 390 to 540 yen from Nojiri, and Super Mario patches range from 200 to 980 yen from Sun. These items are described as classic fashion accessories featuring popular Mario characters, including not only main characters but also minor ones, like Mecha Koopa and Kamek. Some patches are even designed to reflect car headlights, adding a stylish touch. The designs include artwork from games like Super Mario World and Yoshi's Island. This page showcases a Super Mario goods collection and features a variety of Super Mario-themed merchandise. The left side of the page describes felt craft items like cushions and cushion covers that can decorate an entire room in a Super Mario World theme. It lists prices for items like a child's pillowcase for 780 yen, a cushion for 980 yen, and print curtains and multi-covers in small and large sizes, priced at 4,800 yen and 6,800 yen respectively. The middle section promotes analog games are also Mario, featuring a radio-controlled Mario Kart. It mentions that obstacles like jumps and pylons are included, suggesting competitive gameplay for 2 or more players. The radio-controlled Mario Kart is priced at 4,980 yen. The right side introduces Nico Shoji merchandise and highlights party games featuring Mario. It mentions that these nostalgic games with a Mario essence can easily transform into something fun. It lists several games with their prices. A UFO crane game for 3,980 yen, Super Mario Osrodo for 3,500 yen, Game Collection 21 for 6,000 yen, Doki Doki Puzzle Perfection for 3,800 yen, Mario's Great Labyrinth for 3,980 yen, Mario Kart Grand Prix for 3,980 yen, and Kuru Kuru Bunker 2 for 2,500 yen. The page emphasizes the charm of Mario characters and how these goods can bring joy. This page highlights 6 strategy guides from the Gamebook's popular game strategy book series for Sega Saturn and PlayStation. Titles include The Tower Master Book, Saturn, 1,200 yen, for a skyscraper simulation, offering gameplay tips and map examples. Godzilla Archipelago Earthquake Official Guide, Saturn, 1,000 yen, provides strategies and data for the Godzilla simulation. Classic Road to Eternity Book, PlayStation, 1,300 yen, covers a horse racing simulation. Roadrunner Legend Returns Official Guide, Saturn PlayStation, 1,000 yen, offers strategies for the puzzle game. Sea Bass Fishing Guidebook, Saturn PlayStation, 1,000 yen, caters to the fishing game. Finally, Fighter Pro Wrestling Slam 96 Fighters Bible, PlayStation, 1,000 yen, is for the wrestling game, providing a visual guide and wrestler information. The guides are published by MYCOM, Mainichi Communications, and available at bookstores nationwide. This page is titled N64 Summer Vacation, and it talks about the different ways to enjoy games, whether it's with family, friends, or alone, and how summer vacation is the perfect time to play games. The page highlights that summer vacation has arrived, and so has Our Mario, likely referring to the anticipation for Super Mario 64 on the upcoming Nintendo 64 console. The page also features a circular logo with the English text, The Gamer's Summer, prominently displayed with an image of Mario with wings. The bottom of the page credits Yoshitaka Matsunaga for text and interviews, and Satoshi Chiku for photography, identifying it as page 131 of the July 1996 issue of the 64Dream magazine. This page is about family gaming, and features the Yazaki family who live in Tsukishima, Chuoku, Tokyo, with a very urban view from their home. The family consists of the father Soichi, aged 45, son Toshisuke, aged 17, who loves hard rock and plays guitar as a break from studying, mother Suzuko, and older sister Shino, aged 20. The article highlights that the whole family are rivals in games, and surprisingly, the mother is the most enthusiastic player. They are currently engrossed in playing Mystery Dungeon, Shiren the Wanderer, on the Nintendo 64, demonstrating how games are not just for children, but serve as a valuable communication tool for families. N64 Summer Vacation profiles a family of dedicated gamers. The article centers on Toshiyuki-kun, 17, discussing their family's gaming history, which began with his father and a Famicom. The family progressed through multiple consoles, including the Twin Famicom, PC Engine, and Super Famicom. Dragon Quest united the entire family, even those initially uninterested. They became highly competitive. Toshiyuki-kun plans to continue gaming daily for relaxation, despite university exams. The page showcases the final scene of Torneko's Mystery Dungeon, with the father highlighted as the player. It also highlights a Hori Stereo AV Cable 64 for switching between consoles, and includes pictures of the Super Famicom, Famicom, Twin Famicom, and PC Engine. This page showcases Case Study 2, Companions in Games, highlighting an RPG club at an American university whose main focus is tabletop role-playing games. The article explains that while they enjoy computer games, they often play tabletop RPGs due to financial constraints and hardware limitations. It notes that tabletop RPGs are considered the origins of computer RPGs, citing Dragon Quest and Final Fantasy as examples of popular Japanese computer RPGs that evolved from this genre. The page features an interview with Hiratsuka from the Shibara Institute of Technology RPG Club, who discusses the Nintendo 64 and the appeal of tabletop RPGs. Images on the page depict individuals engaged in card games, likely illustrating tabletop RPG sessions, and a photo of Hiratsuka. This page showcases a glimpse into the 64Dream magazine's coverage of N64 during the summer of 1996, focusing on a group of RPG enthusiasts. The page features decorative summer-themed elements like a starfish, snorkel, and watermelon. It includes images of hands on an N64 controller, people playing games in a room filled with game software and consoles, and a group photo of RPG club members who gathered to play the N64. One text box describes the RPG club's room, located within the Cultural Club building, equipped with multiple game consoles and software. It mentions the popularity of Miyasa vs. fighting games, where spectators cheer when impressive moves are executed. Another section describes bookshelves within the room's locker, filled with RPG and simulation board games, noting a shift from mostly imported American games to an increase in original Japanese titles, and recommends visiting toy stores to find them. Lastly, the page mentions the campus of Shibara Institute of Technology in Omiya City, Saitama Prefecture, highlighting its cutting-edge facilities for engineering studies, particularly in computer and robotics technologies. The group photo caption identifies them as members of the RPG club, who gathered in their room, with the leader, Mr. Hirabayashi, Architecture Engineering, 3rd year, holding the N64 console. This page from 64Dream magazine features Case Study 3, Single-player games. The main text emphasizes that the best feature of video games is that they can be enjoyed alone, unlike traditional games such as cards, shogi, chess, and board games that require opponents to play. It highlights the joy of being able to immerse oneself in a dreamlike world through video games, even when playing solo. The top right corner text box refers to a collection of retro gaming items, including game consoles and UncleBot, a 25-year-old American-made game machine, Famicom keyboards and robots from the early days, and mentions it's a place to learn about the history of home TV games. Below, the page describes Miss Morichi showing off the Nintendo 64 to her 8-year-old golden retriever, named Poke. Poke is happy to see Miss Morichi, and stays close to her while she plays. Humorously, when Poke wants attention or to play, he apparently tries to press the reset button on the console. The text concludes that Poke is clever and cute. The images include retro gaming-themed illustrations at the top, like goggles, a watermelon, a sunflower, and a shell. There's also a photo of a woman with a golden retriever dog, both looking at a Nintendo 64 console and controller. Another image shows the woman playing the Nintendo 64 with the dog at her feet. Summer gaming is the focus of this article, featuring 17-year-old Morioka Yuki and her experiences at her aunt's house. Her uncle, a planner, uses research, keeping up with trends, as an excuse to buy the latest games, much to his wife's amusement. Morioka escapes school stress by immersing herself in games there, enjoying the immersive experience, particularly when gaming alone. She believes her generation can enjoy games responsibly and anticipates new series releases. The article also touches on portable TVs, useful for gaming on breaks, and Morioka's preference for action, shooting, and racing games played on a large display with surround sound. The piece concludes by noting the availability of game mode TVs and mentioning the family's pets: golden retrievers, a Shetland sheepdog, fish, and cats named after food items. An advertisement for a portable power inverter is also included. This Nurse Yu's Game Life Complete Check from 64Dream magazine offers health tips for gamers. Addressing common concerns, the nurse character debunks the myth of TV causing eye damage, advising correct viewing distance, 5 times screen size. She emphasizes good posture to prevent physical strain, recommending relaxed positions and proper screen height slightly below eye level, along with simple stretches during breaks. Finally, she suggests a 1-hour gaming session followed by a 15-minute break, highlighting the 2-hour concentration limit. Playing excessively disrupts the body's rhythm, potentially leading to irritability, sleep problems, and overall impact on health and daily life. This page from 64Dream magazine gives advice on staying healthy while gaming during the summer. It starts by recommending moderate room lighting, not too bright or too dim, to avoid eye strain when playing games. The page then warns against playing games at very loud volumes, especially with headphones, as it can lead to hearing problems and tinnitus. It also addresses the issue of finger pain from playing games for too long, especially in action and shooting games that require quick controller inputs. The advice suggests resting fingers and seeking medical help if pain persists, as it could be tendinitis. Finally, the page discusses summer fatigue and suggests eating properly, staying hydrated, and getting some sun and outdoor activity in addition to gaming to maintain good health and avoid summer burnout. The Satellaview was a niche satellite data broadcasting peripheral for the Super Famicom, launched in Japan on April 23, 1995. Initially obscure, it was scarcely covered by gaming media and sold in plain packaging, making it difficult to find. The device, officially named Super Famicom Power, connected to the St. Giga BS5 chains service, enabling players to access exclusive content. Owning a Satellaview was portrayed as enriching the gaming experience, offering new game trials, compatible software, and extended gameplay. Provided access to exclusive titles, such as the original Satellaview version of Chrono Trigger, and promised a continuous stream of new games. The user interface, with its personalized greeting, enhanced the immersive experience, making the player feel like a hero embarking on an adventure. For dedicated Super Famicom players, the Satellaview was considered a must-have. To use Satellaview, you need the unit, a Super Famicom, and BS broadcasting reception. Required accessories include a specific power cable and an AV selector. The page recommends several programs. Game Tiger's Super Hidden magazine offers game information, reviews, and data broadcasts on Sundays. Hikaru Ijuin's Strange Radio Wave Transmission Base is a late-night radio show airing Saturdays. Naiyuki's GEMU Pot provides game genre coverage and strategy hints on Sundays. Finally, an interesting games section highlights time-limited broadcasts and reruns of past popular programs, including Mario and Wario reruns alongside other entertainment like sumo wrestling. Named Town Story for the Super Famicom is a town-based game where players explore a map filled with locations like shops, houses, and public spaces. Players can engage in various activities within these buildings, including playing programs, games, and receiving data via broadcast, like fishing data acquired at the department store during satellite data delivery times. Money is crucial for purchasing items and participating in events, mirroring RPG mechanics. The Wall Newspaper Company and radio station provide vital information, too. Seasons change, and special events like Santa Claus at Christmas add to the experience. The game encourages interaction with residents to solve mysteries. Monthly events and new characters keep the gameplay fresh. The game's open-ended nature ensures players will have plenty to do. Satellaview expanded Super Famicom gaming by allowing downloadable content and interactive experiences. Software, often found in stores, enabled games like Derby Stallion 96, offering new breeding data, and Kaiju Monogatari, available before its official release. Beyond games, Satellaview provided radio-like programs, called Super Famicom Hour, featuring game information and events like Dragon Quest competitions. Several programs were highlighted. BS Furai no Siren Stella Osukue offered a timed, high-score challenge with exclusive items. BSX Shooting provided original shooting games, alongside RPG and adventure titles. BS Spriggan Powered was an audio interactive shooting game with voice acting. Finally, the first BS Satellaview Cup de Beastin 96 Nintendo Breeders' Cup tournament, based on Derby Stallion 96, allowed owners of both the game and Satellaview to participate, with race scenes broadcast during the event. This page introduces the X-band communication system for the Super Famicom, welcoming readers to the X-band world. It explains how, even in arcades, intense battles were common, and asks readers to imagine experiencing that from their own rooms with unknown opponents. It clarifies that this isn't about strangers suddenly entering your room, but about connecting with people nationwide through phone lines from your home. The page details the main features of X-band through screenshots. Challenge. This section is described as the real-time game experience in the X-band world. Main screen. This is the starting point for all X-band experiences. It highlights various menu options. Mail. This section handles electronic messages, allowing users to send and receive emails and access X-band news. Level. This section pertains to game scores and points, where winning games earns points that determine your level. Rival list. Here, you can view information about opponents, including records of past battles and who you've fought before. Options. This area is for personalizing your X-band experience, allowing you to register your profile, set phone numbers, change sound settings, check usage status, modify player ID/codename, and return to the previous menu. The page explains that by purchasing X-band, connecting it to a Super Famicom and phone line, turning on the power, selecting a character, and registering a codename, like a pen name for communication, users can access the main screen and start challenging others. It emphasizes that choosing challenge is all it takes to start battling someone. The X-band system enabled online battles for Super Famicom games. Key components included the X-band modem, connecting the console, software, and phone line, a phone line cord, compatible software like Super Street Fighter II, and prepaid X-band cards for usage. The Super Famicom console was also required. To battle, player A connects to the X-band network, and player B connects. Then the host computer matches players with similar skill levels. Player B initiates a direct phone call to player A, starting the battle. The system handled connections within the X-band modem, protecting user privacy. Player B incurred phone call charges. The system used diagrams to illustrate the setup and connection process. This document details the setup and features of the X-band modem for the Super Famicom. The setup guide outlines 6 steps: attaching the modem, inserting a game cartridge, connecting the phone line, setting the X-band card, powering on the system, and menu selection. Beyond online battles, X-band offered electronic mail functionality, allowing players to send messages and chat in real time using directional keys and the A button. Players could build friendships, share feelings, and learn about the online community. The X-band news section, featuring today's DJ Shigeo, provided game news, tournament details, and DJ personalities. It also mentioned a bandwidth ranking. This all suggests X-band was a hub for competitive gaming, communication, and information. This advertisement highlights 4 Super Famicom games compatible with the X-band online service: Street Fighter II Turbo, Super Mario Kart, Super Fire Pro Wrestling Special, and Super Famista 3. Each game description emphasizes its suitability for online play, focusing on competitive matches and the excitement of facing distant opponents. Release dates and prices are provided for each game, from publishers Capcom, Nintendo, Human, and Namco, respectively. The ad also features a column by Naki from the X-band section, detailing their first impressions. Naki praises the easy setup and operation of X-band, emphasizing the simple challenge function and the unique experience of playing against remote players. The column concludes with enthusiasm for the platform's potential and the anticipation of more users and compatible games. The Game Boy Pocket, marketed as the world's smallest and lightest, was released on July 21st, significantly smaller and lighter than the original Game Boy. Weighing only 150 grams with batteries, it featured an improved screen, pocket-friendly size, and a price of 6,800 yen. Key specifications included a STN.matrix LCD, 2 AAA battery power, and 5 color options. Accessories like a communication cable, rechargeable battery pack, and AC adapter were available. While compatible with the original Game Boy communication cable, an adapter was required. The Pocket offered 8 to 10 hours of battery life. An American version was showcased, with a release planned for August, alongside screenshots of Donkey Kong Land. The article speculated about a potential Japanese release for the game. This page showcases 4 different games for the Game Boy. First up is Bomberman Collection from Hudson, released on July 21st for 3,980 yen. This action game compilation features 3 Bomberman titles and supports up to 4 players using the Super Game Boy with a communication cable for versus battles. Next is Namco Gallery Volume 1 by Namco, also released on July 21st for 3,980 yen. This is a collection of 4 classic Namco arcade games, including Battle City, Galaga, Mappy, and Namco Classic. It also supports 13 colors on the Super Game Boy. Nintendo presents Mogranya, an action puzzle game featuring a cute mole character, launching on July 21st for 3,980 yen. It also includes a communication battle mode. Finally, Chunsoft introduces Fushigi no Dungeon, Furai no Shiren GB, a mystery dungeon RPG slated for release in late July for 3,980 yen. This title boasts randomly generated maps for replayability and is part of the popular Mystery Dungeon series. The first edition includes a special sticker and features a beginner-friendly phase cave mode. This page features an article titled Super Mario Theory: All Legends Started from the Initial 3 Screens by game analyst Hisakazu Hirabayashi. The article discusses the enduring appeal of Super Mario, particularly Super Mario 64, and argues that its origins lie in the 2D era of the original Super Mario Bros. The page includes a screenshot from the NES game Super Mario Bros. And a photograph of the author, Hirabayashi. It is page 150 of the July 1996 issue of 64Dream magazine. This article explores the design philosophy behind Mario, contrasting it with characters possessing extensive backstories. It posits that Mario's appeal stems from his design's practicality, a direct response to the limitations of early Famicom graphics. Constrained by 8x8 or 8x16 dot sprites, designers prioritized visibility, leading to iconic features like the hat and mustache. This pragmatic approach, rather than a predefined worldview, is presented as the core of Mario's enduring charm. The article highlights Super Mario Bros. 1985 as a pivotal game born from these constraints. It introduced innovations like infinite lives and warp zones, ultimately influencing the evolution of the series and the creation of the expansive game world showcased in Super Mario 64. The design of Super Mario Bros. Starting screen, with Mario on the left moving right, is deliberate. The layout aligns with left-to-right reading habits and the control scheme favoring rightward movement. This design implicitly guides the player, teaching them to move forward. Programmer convenience also plays a role in this choice. The initial Goomba encounter functions as a subtle tutorial, introducing enemy interaction and the consequences of contact. The placement of the question mark block reinforces this learning, teaching players about interaction with their environment. These elements are designed to teach fundamental game mechanics, jumping, enemy engagement, and block interaction through gameplay, mirroring the introduction of weak enemies in other classic games like Dragon Quest and Xevious. This page discusses the design philosophy behind the Super Mario Bros. Game maps and how they are structured to teach players intuitively. The article highlights how the game cleverly introduces players to new concepts and challenges through its level design. The page focuses on a specific section of World 11, using screenshots from the game to illustrate its points. It breaks down how players learn fundamental mechanics, like breaking blocks, and understanding power-ups like the Super Mushroom. It emphasizes how players initially might be cautious of the mushroom, mistaking it for an enemy, but soon realize it's beneficial, teaching them about power-ups in a natural gameplay context. The article points out how the game subtly guides players towards understanding game mechanics without explicit instructions, fostering a sense of discovery and mastery. It uses annotations on the screenshots to explain the player's likely thought process as they encounter these game elements. The article suggests that this kind of intuitive learning embedded in the level design is a key element of Super Mario Bros.' brilliance and enduring appeal, even 11 years after its release, implying the article is written around 1996. This page is from the GameWork 1 Game Designer section and features an interview with Masanobu Endo, the president of Game Studio Company Limited, and is subtitled, Masanobu Endo Before and After Xevious. He is known as the first game designer in Japan, and the one who elevated computer games to art. The main headline states that the number of people who can be called true game designers has decreased. The article discusses Endo's early career and the development of his influential shooting game, Xevious, released in January 1983 by Namco. Xevious is described as a game that rapidly evolved computer games. He mentions that he was working on a 3-part SF story called Fardrout around the same time. Endo emphasizes the qualities of a true game designer. He believes that while anyone can create one good game, being a professional game designer means consistently producing quality work. He criticizes game designers who are proud of not knowing how to program, stating that programming is a skill that can be learned with effort and is an essential aspect of game design. He uses Yu Suzuki and Virtua Racing as an example of a dedicated game creator who even went to the extent of experiencing things like four-wheel drifting at Yokohama Bay Bridge for research. He concludes by saying true game designers are becoming scarce. A Namco game developer, reflecting on game development, observes increased specialization but potentially less passion than in the past. He enjoys fighting games like Virtua Fighter and admires the Nintendo 64, wishing for easier development access. He emphasizes the importance of memory and diverse experiences for creativity. Echoing Akira Kurosawa's view, he joined Namco in 1981, contributing to titles like Xevious and The Tower of Druaga, before founding Game Studio Company Limited in 1985. His portfolio includes The Return of Ishtar and work on Z Gundam and Wizardry, spanning various platforms, with current projects for Saturn and PlayStation. He expresses a desire to create games for women and children, and notes how family life may influence game development, citing Shigeru Miyamoto's work as an example. He playfully acknowledges his children's superior gaming skills and his desire for them to enjoy his creations. This page is an advertisement for the game Ogre Battle: The March of the Black Queen, which is described as Episode 5 of the Ogre Battle Saga. It is stated to be scheduled for release this autumn. The page also mentions Tactics Ogre and notes that a Sega Saturn version of something is planned for release this winter. The screenshots shown are from a development version of the game. The advertisement features artwork with fantasy creatures like a green dragon and various humanoid characters. The copyright mentions Q West and Riverhillsoft Inc. from 1996. The next page is an advertisement for the Sega Saturn version of the simulation RPG Legend of Ogre Battle. The advertisement emphasizes the game's revival and evolution on the Sega Saturn, calling it the origin of simulation RPGs. It highlights features such as the faithfully reproduced world of the original game, added sub-scenarios exclusive to the Saturn version, enhanced graphics, richer sound, and a more dramatic storyline. The advertisement also mentions improvements to gameplay, with added save points and more intuitive controls. Screenshots showcase in-game menus and battle scenes from the Sega Saturn release. The bottom of the page provides contact details for Riverhillsoft, the publisher of the game. This page is an advertisement with a close-up shot of a woman looking upwards and away from the viewer. The text in yellow Japanese overlay reads, "Ah," which translates to, "This summer, I'm hooked on Saturn," or "This summer, I'm into Saturn." This is likely an ad promoting the Sega Saturn console as something exciting and engaging for the summer period. This page is from Great Saturn Magazine, issue number 2, released on July 9th. It's a Saturn information magazine that aims to offer more than just game coverage. The special feature of this issue is about the upcoming ban on X-rated software, starting October 1st, discussing the impact on the industry and fan reactions, and exploring the future of adult-oriented Saturn games. The page highlights several games under the GSZ Collection banner, including Nights into Dreams, Fatal Fury 3, Road to the Final Victory, Wipeout, and Shin Megami Tensei: Devil Summoner. There's also a release soft selection section showcasing recently launched titles such as Gekka Mugentan Toriko, Puzzle Bobble 2X, Idyusuke Meijin no Shin Jisen Mahjong, Ipatsu Gyakuten Gamble King Ino Michi, Strikers 1945, Kingdom Grand Prix, Greatest 996, Sega Aegis Space Harrier, Aquazone, and Gameware Volume 2 Death Mito Dome Escape from the Isolated City. Finally, the page teases a Saturn Software Perfect Guide section featuring gravure of Kinoshita Yu, a column by Miura Rieko titled, "Let Me Do It Too," and an article by Tanimura Shiho called Don't Just Play Games. The magazine is published by Mainichi Communications. This page is an advertisement for a Reader Prize giveaway celebrating the launch of 64Dream magazine. The promotion is open to all readers, especially Mario fans, and those interested in game creation and the gaming industry, encouraging them to apply using the questionnaire postcard included in the magazine. The prizes include 3 Nintendo 64 consoles, 10 sets of Nintendo 64 controllers in assorted colors, and 3 copies each of the games, Super Mario 64 and Pilotwings 64. Other game prizes include 3 copies of the Japan-exclusive shogi game, Saikyu Habu Shogi 64. For Game Boy prizes, there are 3 Game Boy Pocket handhelds and 3 copies each of Game Boy cartridges, Namco Gallery Volume 1, Bomberman Collection, and Fushigi no Dungeon 2, Furai no Shiren, Shiren the Wanderer. There are also prizes for hardware and accessories, including 3 X-Band starter kits, which was an online gaming service, 3 Satellaview add-ons for Super Famicom, 5 DCAC inverter response units, and 5 stereo AV cables for the Nintendo 64. This page showcases a prize giveaway campaign from 64Dream magazine. There are various prizes to be won, including a Super System rack for the Super Famicom, a Mario Kart Grand Prix board game, Super Mario patches, Super Mario World plush toys, a Marchand Land coloring set, a Mario Kart RC car, Super Mario Kart Pullback DX toys, Yoshi's Island character stamps, a kitchen set, magnet clips, an autographed shikishi by Reiji Matsumoto, and an autographed photo album by Yuka Nakamori. To enter, readers needed to fill out the questionnaire postcard included in the magazine and send it in. The deadline for entries was August 30th, 1996, and winners would be announced in the first issue of the 64Dream magazine, which was to be released on September 21st. The next page is announcing the inaugural issue of the 64Dream magazine, scheduled for release on September 21, 1996. The main contents of the issue will include the latest information on 64 software, featuring titles such as Super Mario Kart R, likely referring to Super Mario Kart 64, Star Fox 64, Wave Race 64, Donkey Kong, and Super Space Niter Pro Baseball King. The page mentions that they will be providing a wealth of information on upcoming software releases. Additionally, the issue will feature a section called World Representing Game Creators, Shigeru Miyamoto Thorough Research. Other regular features advertised are Game Industry Job, Public Relations, Game Surfing on the Internet, and Doki Doki Investigation Team Report, among others. The bottom sections of the page are editorials from the editors discussing the creation of the magazine. This page is an advertisement for the Super Famicom game, Nishijin Pachinko Monogatari 2. It's promoted as a realistic pachinko simulation game, featuring various CR Pachinko machines. The advertisement highlights CR Pachinko Hanazakari, and mentions other pachinko machines included in the game like CR Geki 2-0, CR Chiki Chiki Dream R, CR Ace Train, and Honey Flash 7. The game boasts realistic simulations based on actual machine data, and features modes for research and strategy, as well as adventure. It was released on June 28th. The ad emphasizes it as the second installment in the Nishijin Pachinko Monogatari series. This page is an advertisement for the Nintendo 64 console launch, highlighting the tagline, 64 changes games, games change. The ad showcases the Nintendo 64 console and its controller, priced at 25,000 yen including tax. It emphasizes the console's ability to deliver computer graphics animation, and introduces the new 3D stick controller for intuitive movement in 3D games. Featured are 3 launch titles. Super Mario 64, described as a 3D action game where Mario runs around in a 3D space, and Pilotwings 64, a sky sports simulation game where players control various vehicles to challenge the sky. The third game is Saikyu Habu Shogi, translated as Strongest Habu Shogi, presented as a shogi game made possible by the 64-bit CPU, promising the strongest opponent experience. All 3 games are priced at 9,800 yen, including tax, and are referred to as simultaneous release software. The bottom of the page includes publisher information, telephone service details, and ISBN/barcode information. This advertisement is from the publication 64Dream, July 1996 issue.